The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
Hooray for Hollywood, where stars are living large, in mansions with their servants and their credit cards in charge, with fame that's fleeting, but the egos never change, where everyone's a genius, except the ones who really arrange. Hooray for Hollywood, where the scandals always sell, where every whispered secret is a new tabloid's tell. Oh, how we adore the endless red carpet galore. Hooray for Hollywood, where less is always more.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to a Radulich and Broadcasting premier podcast, Damn You Hollywood. And here's your host, the man. Hey, wait. Here's your host, Robert Winfree. Yay!
You almost gave me your title.
I'll say, to quote Timothy Chalamet, should have gone to rehearsal.
Got a little tongue-tied.
Well, and to quote Rory, sorry, to quote Rory Culkin, the limit for our discussion is 58 seconds, Adrian Brody.
All right.
Now, yeah, if you missed that one, he was presenting an award, and during his introduction said, I don't think anyone could hold this statue. It's kind of heavy for more than about 48 seconds, which is the limit of your acceptance speech time, Mr. Brody.
Okay, but in all fairness, Brody's acceptance speech for the pianist all those years ago was pretty adorable, with him going, wait, I may never get back up here. Wait. It was cute.
It was cute the first time.
All right, we are talking this year's Best Picture nominees. There are 10. They are Anora, I'd like to adore her, but I ignore her.
Wish I could have ignored it.
Get ready, folks. More of that.
You got to do it with a little, with a. I seek the advice of Dr. Laura, but I ignore her. So if you're gonna be, you got to do the rhyme scheme. You got to keep with it. Can't add on that ing. That fucks it all up. Anora, The Substance, Emilia Perez, Conclave, A Complete Unknown, The Brutalist, Nickel Boys, I'm Still Here, Wicked, and Dune Part 2. So we will be
Four of these things are not like the others. Four of these things just don't belong.
We will be surveying all 10 pictures. We'll do a brief thing on Nickel Boys and I'm Still Here because we have not done previous reviews of them. So if you've listened to Damn You Hollywood before, and I assume you have because you're here now, we are not doing reviews of these movies tonight. We are looking at them individually and discussing their merit on this list entirely, whether or not they should actually have been nominated for Best Picture. So we will do that shortly, and then we'll break midway through so Alexis can tell us about the Best Animated Features for this year's Oscars. Then we'll finish with the last 5. Then we'll make our full Oscar picks, and this will be fun because we'll all go out on a limb, much like our predictions for the year in review, year looking forward show that we did a few weeks ago. We will pick our Oscar winners, and then on the next week's show, we'll grade ourselves and see how we did. Because now I'm holding everyone accountable for their long, wordy diatribes that they go on, and actually see if they're accurate. So Robert looks nonplussed by this. It's like, damn it, I don't want to be held accountable for things I say.
I haven't. It's not like I've been tracking my predictions for every UFC fight that the UFC puts on for the last year and a half.
You haven't? What kind of a reporter
No,
are you?
I have.
No, he has.
I have a spreadsheet.
How are you, really quick, like in 10 words or less, how are you doing? What's your percentage right now for right picks?
Better than 2-1. I went 10-2 this last one. Hang on, I will tell you exactly.
Nice, because I haven't bothered you for betting picks in a while. Anyway,
nor should you. It's a terrible.
It's an absolutely awful habit that I continue to have. Anyway,
yes,
then we'll look at.
Okay. I'm 52-21, and there's been one draw.
Cool. Then we'll look at Oscar snubs. Alexis has some articles for Oscar controversies and news items for this cycle. Then we'll do plugs. That'll take up an hour, and then we're out of here. So before we do, though, just a bit of business. Last week we did Captain America: Brave New World, and I made a bold prediction. Bold, I tell you. It was so bold, even the very negative, persistently depressed Robert Winfree was like, "Yeesh, seems a bit harsh." Well,
It seemed look, man, you predicted like almost 80%.
I said 70. Don't
You did
exaggerate.
say 70%.
I'm
Yeah,
going to start
you
hiring
said
a court stenographer on these
Yeah,
shows.
yeah, and just felt a little steep to me. I would have figured 65 was more accurate, but
We'll split the difference because, and we're not going to do a full money thing. I just wanted to do this bit real quick. Captain America retained its spot as the #1 movie of the weekend. Its only competition was from Neon, and that was The Monkey, which apparently is getting rave reviews. But it did.
yeah. When are we
fall-
reviewing? We need to set up when we're reviewing that.
It's on the calendar.
It's Monday, and I'm taking that Monday off. Alexis is in charge.
Woot! Abandon
okay.
all hope, ye who enter.
Yep.
I will double check my schedule. I don't think I had seen that one.
I put it on there. I just took myself off of it and colored it purple for Alexis.
It's there now. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say with Markov, I think that's an official Unholy Trinity review because I know Jason's in. Has anyone heard anything from Dorian?
He did send a message that said he might be interested if his schedule permits.
Okay.
Yeah, so The Monkey debuted at #2. Paddington fell from 2 to 3. Dogman retained its spot at 4, and Hard Ice fell from 3 to 5, and that's as far as I'm going with this. But again, the headline here, and the only reason why I even wanted to address this was Captain America: Brave New World fell 68.3% in its second week. I don't want to be the rest of the negative Nellies, and YouTube nerds out there, but that's a really significant drop.
That's for a movie that opened relatively soft considering what it had to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a non-trivial drop.
Yeah, I've been doing some math, working with artificial intelligence, playing with calculators, and I mean it's tracking to do between 4 and 5, which if you go with the propaganda, they're going to say that this is a hit. If you go with the article that said it needs to make $1 billion to break even, this is a massive, massive bomb for Disney.
Look, they won't cop to how big a bomb this is until the shareholder call, when they won't be allowed to lie about it by law.
That'll be the truth, baby. All right. Enough with that out of the way. Let's get to the Oscars. And the first movie we're going to talk about here is one I just saw yesterday.
Ditto.
Nickel Boys.
Three-part ditto, actually. I think we all watched this yesterday.
Mark saw it, and the first thing he said was in a message, and boy, do I have fear in my soul to try and discuss this movie with Robert Winfree. And
Okay, Nickel Boys has 192 nominations overall through the entire award season, has so far racked up 47 wins. It has 2 Oscar nominations.
All right, so real quick, we have a person watching on YouTube. He says, "I'm still here," which is the name of one of the movies we'll be discussing next. And he says, "If it were truly about rewarding the quality of acting, the brilliance of the good and real story, I'm Still Here deserves the Oscar." We will talk about that shortly, friend. All right, so what is Nickel Boys? Nickel Boys is a 2024 American historical drama based on the 2019 novel The Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead. It was directed by Ramel Ross, who wrote the screenplay with Jocelyn Barnes. Stars Ethan Harris, Brandon Wilson, Hamish Linklater, Fred Hetchinger, David Diggs, which made my daughter squee, Jimmy Fails, Ajwanine Ellis-Taylor. The story follows 2 African-American boys, Elwood and Turner, who are sent to an abusive reform school in 1960s Florida. It was inspired by the Dozier School for Boys, a now closed Florida reform school notorious for its abusive treatment. I don't want to go into a full plot synopsis of this because we'll be here forever if I do that. Suffice to say, and then last year when we did this, I spent way too long talking about Poor Things because we didn't do a real review of it. So I'll just say this. The thing about this movie is it's 2
hours and change.
Yeah, 2 hours and 20 minutes. And the weird thing about it is that it's shot in first-person perspective, and it keeps changing perspectives. So it changes between the 2 leads, but it's shot from behind the lead character's head. So it would be like if you were filming Robert and I talking to each other, and it's from my perspective, the camera's behind my bald ass head, and then it switches to his bald ass head, and it just keeps going back and forth.
Yes and no. The stuff that takes place in the 1960s is basically if they had a GoPro mounted on their foreheads. The
Mhm.
stuff that takes place in, I'm assuming from the technology we saw, it would have been the 90s, is like if the GoPro was mounted behind the head.
Yeah, it's all over the place. There's also a lot of overhead shots. So like, the characters may be laying in a field looking at an orange tree.
Well, the movie is a little bit too art house by half for my personal taste, and a
I was
handful
going to
of
get there, but you go ahead and take that ball to the hole.
the first person perspective, the use of first person, and then the slightly displaced third person. It's there to serve the pseudo twist near the end.
Yeah, which I didn't
Um,
think was necessary at all, and I don't
it
know if that's in the book or not.
haven't read it, couldn't tell
Me neither.
you. Yeah, and I'm with you. It's utterly unnecessary. I don't mind first person movies if they're done well, and here again you can tell that it's being done to service that again the sort of twist at the end, like, oh no, which of them survives, because only one of them does. And it just gets drawn out a little bit too long. There's a handful of scenes that are again a little bit too art house, like, oh hey, there's a white guy doing something evil, here's an alligator,
Okay,
because
so two things.
symbolism.
One, it was reminding me of The Substance, which we'll talk about shortly, with the extreme close-ups, which I was jokingly calling this movie Extreme Close-Ups the movie. It gets especially egregious in scenes where I don't know what the extreme close-up was supposed to serve. Like, for example,
Yeah.
when Nana's cutting Elwood cake and she's doing like this with the knife, like we have to have an extreme close-up of her wiping cake off the knife. Why? To do what? But the funniest part was because the movie, I can see why it got nominated, and I'll defend its position on this list. For a couple
I
of different reasons.
I'm with you. I don't disagree with its nomination.
It gets surreal at times, and
Mhm.
the funniest was this bit towards the third act of the movie, which this is where my girlfriend noped out, and she can be kind. Oh, by the way, Robert, it was Hereditary, not Heretic, was the movie she thought was a good horror movie. Yeah, I fucked that up. So
Okay, well,
hi,
for
girlfriend.
in which case I apologize for insulting you. That's a much better choice.
Yes. All right. Good. Now that she has been redeemed, she was with the movie. Like I said, she can tolerate some art house stuff. It's not her favorite thing, but especially since she started dating me, I've been pushing more of that on her, and she's tolerated it. She's a good woman. She noped out when she saw the horse in the hallway. And at that point, she's just grabbing me and shaking me, going, "Why is there a horse in the hallway? Why is there?" By this point, Jonas had fucked off and started doing chores. That's how this movie was for my kids. He was like, "I would rather sweep the house and do dishes and laundry than have to watch this movie." So he noped out. But she was with it and just sort of kept giving me like the penny look from Big Bang Theory up until she saw the horse. And then she was just like, "Why is the horse in the hallway?" And I said, "Doctor's appointment." But as it turns out, it's just a surrealist. It's just a surrealist, imaginative shot, and it's meant to portray. She sent me a whole thing on it she got from ChatGPT, but it was meant to portray like the harshness of the conditions. Let's see if I can find the actual quote she sent me. But
Yeah,
no,
let's trust the language model to interpret symbolism in film.
Don't talk bad about our Lord and Savior. A symbolic representation of the oppressive and surreal nature of Nickel Academy. It comes from out of fucking nowhere, and it had absolutely no context to it, which is why it was a weird thing to see. But there it was. That's a lot of. I'm gonna shove it over to you in a sec, Alexis, for your thoughts. But
No problem.
it's my problem with this is this movie we've already seen this movie done a dozen times, with young boy sent to a juvenile academy of some sorts and mistreated. I'm doing it assuming he doesn't go away due to work. Jesse and I are supposed to do one later on in the year, and it's the one where like the four white boys go to the juvenile detention facility and they'll get like molested and they kill them later in life.
Isn't that an Ethan Hawke movie?
I believe so, or maybe not. I'll
Brad,
look it up.
Brad Pitt. It's called Sleepers.
That's the one.
That's right. Yeah, I was like, it was some '90s dreamboat actor. I just couldn't remember which one.
Yeah, Brad Pitt's your primary lead. Kevin Bacon, Robert De Niro.
Yes. Thank you.
Handful of other people.
So my point is, I've seen
Christian Slater
movies like this
Christian
before,
Slater.
and not that you can't keep doing movies like this. It's just it's like if it wasn't for the fact, and like actually Jonas brought this point up, and I thought it was a solid point. If it wasn't for the weirdly way in which this was shot, if it wasn't for the surrealist nature of the photography, the choice of ever shifting perspectives, it's just kind of a bland movie dealing with this idea. And I actually don't agree with the director's choice in shifting perspectives in order to tell this story. I think if you want to tell the story of institutionalized racism and child abuse, stop fucking with the photography. It's distracting. Alexis?
I was fine with the first person perspective because, agreed, I thought it did bring a new way of looking at a film like this. I also appreciate because I feel like it does give you more sense of terror when you think about what the boys were going through. You have no way of escaping that scene where Elwood is led into the back room and he's going to be whipped, belted. I don't know. You hear his heavy breathing, you hear his heart beating, and you see through his eyes what he's about to go through, and it does hit you pretty hard. But I agree, the stuff, the random stuff with the animals, it's like, okay, I mean, the first time I saw the alligator, at first I was like, whoa, no, that's not real. And then I saw it again, I'm like, okay, so this is going to be kind of a thing. But then they just do that, and the horse. And
there's a gecko that shows up a handful of different times.
I thought the gecko was real.
The first one is like the one they find outside, but then it shows up again a couple of different times. So.
I guess I thought it's kind of like, Mark, when you and I reviewed In the Heights. It's like, if you're going to go with that kind of a thing, fine, but go more with it. Don't just do like a little taste, because you're just making it seem like it's more weird and not it's part of the style. Really impressed with the acting overall. Kind of laughing a little bit. The dude who played the head of the Academy is the new voice of Batman on the HBO Max series. Like, holy shit, Batman's a racist. Who knew?
Depending on who you ask, that's old hat. We saw Blue Beetle.
Oh boy. But I did enjoy it. Every year we talk about the movie. There's always at least one or two movies that we feel it's like, why the hell did this get nominated? I think last year was Past Lives. We were just like, why is this here? Why? And it's like, I watched that and was like, no, I get it. This is a very powerful movie. And I'm kind of surprised it didn't get any kind of nomination for cinematography or anything. Look, again, you can pick and choose on whether or not you like the first person perspective, but some of the shots they got a first person perspective showing reflections and such were really, really impressive from a filmmaking point of view. And I really like that. I like seeing these filmmakers really commit to that and making it work.
I don't want to go too far ahead of ourselves, but where it should, I think it's okay to have it on the Best Picture list, but I also think it should have gotten a nomination for Best Director, and I'm actually looking at that list now, and it's not on there, and I guess...
No, look, if you only have to choose 5 directors out of this crop this year, this one falls short of that.
Don't worry, we'll get to that when we talk about the snubs, but again, Best Picture, Best Adapted Screenplay, that's it.
Yeah, I'll let Robert have the last word on this, and then we'll move on to I'm Still Here. But I don't argue with its placement on the list, because for the same reason I'm not arguing with Emilia Perez's placement on the list. When you're doing interesting, weird things with film, you're using the medium in ways that push the boundaries of what you can do with the visual film medium, and it's competently done. I will, whether or not I was entertained by it or anyone else around me was, or whatever else is wrong with the movie, I will at least let that be the thing that anchors it to the Best Picture nominations. Robert, what's the final word on Nickel Boys?
We didn't have an expressly black film on the list before this one. Okay, my glib response aside.
I was avoiding calling it the Academy's token white guilt nomination, so thank you, Robert, for just saying it out loud.
Somebody has to. I'll step on the landmine.
Go on.
I'm largely okay with this being nominated. It's competently made. It's moderately interesting. It's expressive and it's pointed without being preachy, and God bless. I kept waiting for it to turn gay because that's just the vibe I got from this movie. I was just waiting for the two of them to confess their love for each other, because that's where we are.
You thought
with
this was
film.
going to be Moonlight 2.0.
Yeah, that was the fear in the back of my head. Because
I'm wondering if it's just the state of film that's weighing on you, and now you're just like, everything is gay. I can't get away from it.
Don't go see Memoir of a Snail, Robert.
Fair enough. So again, somewhat glibness aside, again, it's not preachy, but it is pointed and expressive. So I'm okay with it. It shouldn't win, but I don't hate it being nominated.
All right.
This would not make. If you were to ask me to cut this list to 5 instead of 10, does this make it? No.
All right. It premiered at the 51st Telluride Film Festival on August 30th, 2024, and had a limited theatrical release by Amazon MGM Studios. It was named one of the top 10 films of 2024 by the American Film Institute, received numerous accolades, including award for Best Cinematography at the 40th Independent Spirit Awards, a Best Motion Picture Drama nomination at the 82nd Golden Globes, and then it has 2 nominations for the Oscars, Best Picture and Best Adapted Screenplay. It had a budget of $23.2 million. It had $2.8 million. It is currently in theaters, though it will. It is currently in theaters, but you can also buy it on Amazon, and it'll be available if you're a subscriber for Amazon MGM Plus. I think this week. So that's that. All right. Let's talk about Sex Baby. Let's talk about I'm Still Here.
Not that movie yet.
Okay, I'm Here still has gotten 62 nominations, 46 wins, and this is the movie that has by far the highest nomination to win ratio.
Okay. I'm Still Here is one of them dirty Portuguese movies. It's a 2024 political biographical drama, film directed by Walter Salles from a screenplay by Murilo Hauser and Heriberto Lorega, based on Marcelo Rubens Paiva's 2015 memoir of the same name. It stars Fernanda Torres and Fernanda Montenegro as Eunice Paiva, a mother and activist coping with the forced disappearance of her husband, the dissident politician Rubens Paiva, during the military dictatorship in Brazil. Soon after its release in Brazilian theaters on November 7th, 2024 by Sony Pictures, the film was the target of an unsuccessful boycott by the Brazilian far right, which denies that the regime was a dictatorship. Grossing $27.3 million on a $1.5 million budget, it became the highest grossing Brazilian film since COVID. So let's take a break there. You guys didn't see it. I did. I actually went to the theater. I took a night off of work to go see this. It's good. It's shot nicely. The photography has that grainy kind of 8mm feel to it. It is a subtle picture. It is a movie that deals with the government coming into a home, taking family members, putting them in prison, questioning them, not giving them information, then turning some of them loose and not others, wondering. It kind of reminded me of the first season of Treme. I referenced something that isn't The Wire, but still David Simon.
Woot.
But
we'll get you away from referencing David Simon constantly. Eventually, we'll get you there, Mark.
No. That's me reaching out for David Simon, holding onto his leg.
You're Dixie Carter and he's Hulk Hogan, and he's just like, I don't want to be here anymore.
Go away. You're at the right shade of obsessive. Anyway, when I was watching the movie, I was talking about like the subtlety of it. Normally something like this, I was talking about like why it reminded me of the first season of Treme, and that deals with the amount of disappeared inmates that they couldn't find after Katrina. And sort of the attitude of the local Louisiana government was, fuck them. They're inmates. Who cares? And he's like, nope, these people have families. This matters. We should know where the bodies are. We should know if they died. We should know if they're still alive. The amount of inmates, at least that the show talked about, that were lost in the jail system that should have been released, apparently was quite a number. That there were civil rights issues going on here. The same kind of thing here. This gets to a bigger, it starts as a personal thing, and then it gets to a bigger issue of what is this government doing with these people? Are we a country of laws? Are we a modern country, or is this just, third world level chaos? might makes right, burn everything to the ground kind of a thing. It is long. This thing
A lot of
was
long movies recently.
Yeah, this was almost 2 hours and 20 minutes. Which, I saw this late at night. I'm going to put this comment up. You did it for me. This is a true story that touches and moves the heart of Brazilians who lived through the 1970s during the Brazilian military dictatorship. It's an extremely touching film. Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. It was definitely a heart-wrenching picture. I think it's funny. I'm reminded of the Eddie Izzard thing. If this were done in America, it'd be a lot more dramatic. They would be a lot more pumped up. Yeah, it'd be, a room with a view of a gun. That kind of thing.
For the record, Robert and I didn't see this film not because we didn't want to. It's simply because this is a movie that did not get played in a lot of cinemas, and unfortunately, none of them played near Robert. And the few that did have them, I didn't get a chance to go to because living in Kansas City, we got hit with a blizzard, and I missed my opportunity.
What you didn't hear was Alexis's diatribe against the dirty Portuguese, and she refused to go see this movie, but she asked me not to say that.
Okay, Mark,
live.
you got to stop.
Okay, I'm joking.
Brazilians, not Portuguese. First of all, yes, they speak the language, but they're different countries.
Seriously,
I like how that was your objection to what I was doing.
Dude, if you're gonna insult our fan base, get it right.
Absolutely not. But I will stop doing the joke because I can see I'm irritating Robert. So anyway, I will say this, and then we can move on from this. The lead actress, who plays the wife of the disappeared politician, she's good. She's supported by a cast of actors in her family that are perfectly serviceable. It's on the list, and I agree with this statement on the list because they always nominate at least one foreign movie. And I think I don't want to go too far with this, and I don't want to spark another side debate. But I think with a lot of people's palpable anxiety about rising modern fascism, a movie that sort of speaks to changes in the political climate to the far right, is a worthy one to at least put on the list to generate some conversation. The fact that it's Brazilian is only going to go so far, especially with an American audience. But it was worth a try, and there isn't much out there that I could think of that would have been competitive and maybe should have taken its place. Our friend here, unfortunately, like most Brazilian films, we face many issues with distribution and promotion of our great movies. It's a film that arrives late in the race, but we have potential. To that end, if anyone's interested in this, it's going to eventually be on Apple TV. It's actually got a little page up right now that says coming soon to Apple TV if people want to watch it there. So it'll be available. I think it's, if you're up for a foreign film and you've got the patience for this sort of thing, it wouldn't be a waste of time to watch it. Do you guys want to throw in anything, or can I move on to the next movie?
Feel free to move on. Yeah, every country has, I don't mean this to be dismissive, every country has one of these time periods, and they always have the potential to make great stories because it's a universal kind of thing in that respect. So I'll probably watch it when it becomes more widely available. I'm not driving 50 minutes one way to a theater.
Like I said, I had to take off an entire night's worth of my second job to go watch it in a movie theater at 9:45 at night. And if it wasn't for me agonizing over basketball scores, I might have nodded off during the movie. All right, let's move on to the next one. All righty. So we did this one as part of a triple feature with The Last Showgirl and Robert's favorite movie of the year, Emilia Perez. This is Anora.
I'm gonna kick you.
Anora has racked up 276 nominations, 126 wins, and it currently leads the race for the most Best Picture awards. It has been given the Best Picture title 26 times. So ratio-wise, it is most likely to win Best Picture.
Yes, Anora
I'm seeing the steam rise out of Robert's ears.
No, I'll go over why it's winning in a minute or two when we get to the end. I can wait for that, but
so let me do this bit here. Anora is a 2024 American comedy drama film written, directed, and edited.
It's purely comedy for the record.
By Sean Baker. It follows the beleaguered marriage between Anora Makieva, who's played by Mickey Madison, a sex worker, and Vanya Zakharov, played by Mark Edelstein, son of a Russian oligarch. The supporting cast includes a bunch of other people. It premiered at the 77th Cannes Film Festival, May 21st, 2024, to critical acclaim. and was released theatrically on October 18th by Neon. It grossed $37.8 million worldwide on a $6 million budget, becoming Baker's highest-grossing film. When we're done talking about it, I'll read this last paragraph here.
I mean,
ahead,
you
Robert.
and I, when we reviewed this, basically gave it a shrug, Mark.
Yeah, pretty much. So let me recap that real quick. Robert saw it first. He talked about it on our year-end show. I saw it right before we did the triple feature, and he was like, "Oh, you're really going to like this movie. Pat really liked it, and I know why, yada, yada, yada." Our discussion around it was basically, I understand why you think I'm going to like this. That's not that I didn't. It's if these people are not familiar to most average people, the normies, this is, Russian, spoiled Russian oligarchs and sex workers are not known people to them. They are alien. So a window in the lives of alien people is always going to get special attention. And people are going to maybe get wowed by the alienness of it all. Unfortunately, it's not alien to me. I've been around, I don't want to get into it, but I've been around people in or about the sex industry for the last 20 odd years of my adult life. This is not new to me. So and then you have to look at the style of the movie, the frantic dialogue of it all. I
really was just waiting for the Jerry chance to break out more than once when watching that movie.
So so the busyness of it, the franticness of it, the manicness of it, I was like, okay, I've seen this all before. I think, again, because of the novelty of the themes of it, the novelty of the presentation and characters, people are fooled into thinking this is better than it really is. But Alexis, you hadn't had a chance to speak on it, so why don't you give me 100 words on your thoughts on this movie?
Watched this with my husband. We both really enjoyed it. One of my big takeaways is that so often when you hear it's a movie about someone in the sex industry or it's about a sex worker, that person is the target of abuse, rape, drugs. It is a pity case in every single time this is the first time I think we've seen a movie where we have a sex worker who's basically saying, yeah, I'm a sex worker, it's a job, get over it.
I think that's actually a brilliant point. This is, I think people, you might have actually keyed into why people are overpraising it, is that it's a sort of almost a feminist empowering piece. Keep going, Alexis.
Okay.
Round back, Robert.
Yeah, don't worry, Robert. I won't go on forever. I promise.
I'm just trying to make sure I remember my.
But no, I really did appreciate it. I appreciate that. Yeah, it was like, yeah, she's a sex worker. We don't need another movie that says like, oh, pity me, I'm a sex worker and I don't want to be in this and I shouldn't be in this. This is a film that points out that stripping and all these are jobs and people do them. They have been doing them since before we had the printing press. Okay, it's a thing, it's there. For me, it was just a story about this woman who ends up in what she feels like might be a fairy tale and it comes crashing down around her. That's what I took from this. You feel for her and what she goes through. And again, it's not, you don't feel the massive pity of, oh, poor child who got wrapped up to this. No, it's a whirlwind thing. And I love little things like the fact that we stay with her while they're going through all of these places trying to find her wayward husband who, basically said, oh, you're not putting you have to go put your pants on before we run. Okay, never mind. I'm out of here. And she's just trying to understand this. She doesn't get the way this oligarch family works. And, few would understand. She thinks it's like, okay, we just have to explain to his parents what happened and everything will be fine. She does not realize what she has stumbled into. And she is getting dragged along for all of this. And it's clear she just doesn't have a choice and she's trying to make the best of it. She keeps thinking, I'll just talk to my husband and he'll tell his parents that we're together and they can get over it. Okay. She doesn't understand that this guy's a perpetual little child.
Okay. Let me cut you off there, Robert. So now go ahead and make your point.
Yeah, you're not wrong in that people are glomming on to this is like the postmodern Pretty Woman.
Yeah.
I'm going to reiterate what I said when we reviewed this. I laughed throughout this movie. I laughed at parts I wasn't supposed to because I don't have pity for stupid people playing stupid games, winning stupid prizes. Sorry, no. I laughed hard because around the time I saw this, it started getting like the reactions were coming through on Twitter and whatnot. The number of people who wholeheartedly, deep in their souls, thought this was a love story until he says on the plane, like, well, it was fun while it lasted. I had to laugh at them too. Like, how are you this stupid? Do you actually think that somebody like that, not even her, just like somebody who behaves like that kid behaves through the entire film, is someone who's going to be deeply, truly in love with anyone at this point in time?
Cognitive dissonance is real, my friend.
Look, I shouldn't be surprised. We live in the worst. We live in a society where like Barnes and Noble puts out the "but hear me out" section, and it's just smut about monsters for women. Like this is where we are.
Have you seen that Echo Chamberlain video? Yes, you have, because you reacted to it.
You sent it to me.
Yeah, dead on, isn't it?
I mean, it's a little exaggerated, but
you guys really need to see the Hell of a Boss short, Operation Weeaboo, when they're sent to kill a girl who is like a full-on monster lover, and they just look at her and go, "Oh, you're one of those."
You've brought that up before. That's really funny, actually. All right, I want to say this, and then we're going to move on, unless anyone has any real burning desires. I just want to keep the pace going. I don't think this belongs on the list of nominees. I don't think this is one of the 10 best-made movies of this year. It's on there, and as we're talking about it, this occurred to me, so this is literally just a thought that I had. It is on the list because there are people who feel like, one, they're treating this as a feminist piece, but also, like, we need to be, this is coming from the sex workers real work lobby, which I'm in agreement with, but that doesn't, but that you should not inflate the worth of a movie based on your political bent or your agenda. And that is what is happening with Anora. The sex workers real work people saw this as a cause célèbre and a flag to wave, and that's how it ended up on this list. This is an entirely political choice. It has nothing to do with craft. If it were craft, if we were only talking about craft, we said this on the triple feature. Go back and listen to it in the archives if you want. It's nicely made. Sean Baker is very good at what he does, but what he does is okay. It is. I mean, like, let's put it this way: Red Rocket would have been nominated for a Oscar in the year that it was made had the lead been a chick instead of a dude. That's my problem with this movie being on this list.
I think we can at least agree Mikey Madison does deserve the Best Actress nominee for this, though. She was incredible in this.
Sure. Our friend here in the comments, Anora is a film that didn't win me over. It's not a bad movie, but there's something about it that didn't convince me. It felt like one of those generic films with 5 actors screaming in a car. Accurate.
Not wrong.
All right.
Yeah. Again, I do praise it because I do like seeing a movie like this that doesn't constantly portray sex workers as victims.
Okay, so to be clear, I like the movie. I think it's worthy. I think everything that you're saying is true, short of it should have been nominated for a Best Picture. That's the discussion point.
Okay.
Moving on. The Substance, which I do believe belongs on this list, and it is one of 3 that I think that I'm personally rooting for to win Best Picture.
Okay, pulling up the Substances all the way down at the freaking bottom. 284 nominations, 119 wins. If Demi Moore does not walk away with if Demi Moore does not walk away with the Best Actress Oscar, we riot.
This one is to finally get an actress in a horror movie who deserved to win the Oscar, because several of them have been snubbed throughout the course of the Oscars history.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, most
recently and famously Toni Collette, but
All right, so The Substance is a 2024 body horror film written and directed by Coralie Fargett, and it follows a fading celebrity, Elizabeth Sparkle, who's played by Demi Moore, who, after being fired by her producer, Dennis Quaid, who disgustingly eats shrimp, due to her age, uses a black market drug that creates a younger version of herself, who's played by Margaret Qualley. with unexpected side effects. Noted for its satirical elements and grotesque, hyper-realistic imagery, The Substance is Fargut's second feature film after Revenge. Motivated by social pressures on women's body and aging, she wrote the screenplay over 2 years ago, assembling a team to co-produce the film between France, the UK, and the United States. Principal photography in France lasted over 108 days. It made extensive use of prosthetic makeup designed by Pierre-Olivier Persin and primarily practical effects. These included suits, puppetry, dummies, insert shots, and approximately 21,000 liters of fake blood, all in the last scene, by the way, to portray
Mostly.
Like, get the fire hose.
Elizabeth's drug-induced transformation. The film score was written by Rafferty and features a cover of "Pump It Up" by DJ Endor, whoever that is.
Nobody
okay,
knows.
yeah. So I didn't read this stuff about Anora. It doesn't matter. Okay, we talked about this one. I love this movie. We gushed about it. Again, this is on my short list for ones that should win this movie, the Best Picture. I think Demi Moore was fantastic in it. I love the fact that finally we get a horror movie, because I don't know when the last time this ever happened. We actually had a conversation not that long ago on Damn You Hollywood about how horror movies don't get nominated for Best Pictures.
Unless Jordan Peele can throw a big enough hissy fit to get his thing nominated.
Hey, Get Out was awesome. Bite me.
Anyway, so
this
one got nominated, and this one deserves to be there. This was an exceptionally well-made movie. This had a lot to talk about, in terms of what's going on in the modern world, the national conversation. The things it's saying about women, good, bad, or indifferent, I think are important and worthy of discussion. The Substance is wonderful. My son didn't watch the whole thing. He kind of caught the last third of the movie-ish, and we howled with laughter at that final scene. It is absolutely meant to be over-the-top satirical, and the final shot of her face on the star, just priceless. Alexis, you didn't get to be on the triple feature, so I'll give you 100 words or less on your thoughts on The Substance.
Well, for what it's worth, I do have it here. But prior to this, only six horror films have been nominated for Best Picture: The Exorcist, Jaws, Silence of the Lambs, Sixth Sense, Black Swan, and Get Out. And you obviously know only one of those has won. This movie blew me away. I loved it. Demi Moore's performance was outstanding. Anytime I talk to somebody about this movie, they obviously want to know what goes on in it. And I'm like, well, I don't really want to spoil the body horror or any other elements of that. So I talk about the mirror scene. The scene of her trying to get ready for that date and how powerful it is.
Oh, yeah. She almost rubs her face off.
Exactly. That was so brilliant. Such great acting. I love that. And yeah, I do want to see more horror movies step up and get considered for Oscars. Obviously, giant horror movie junkie, you know that. I really, really enjoyed it. We talked about this during our 2024 recap. How there's always at least one or two movies that we find ourselves recommending to our friends and family.
Yeah.
And I talked about how that was with me with Late Night with the Devil. And for you, you said it was The Substance. And now that I look back on it, I realize, oh God, I think I have been recommending The Substance to everyone. So, again, I really, really enjoyed it. Cannot say enough good stuff about it.
Robert, your thoughts on The Substance vis-a-vis whether or not it deserves to be on the list?
Absolutely deserves to be here. I am pulling for it to win, but there's kind of a running gag that came out a little bit ago that this Oscar season is shaping up a lot like the movie Conclave, where, hey, here's the four big favorites. It's The Brutalist, it's The Substance, it's Emilia Perez, it's whatever, and then slowly stuff has come out. Like, oh no, there's generative AI being used in The Brutalist in places. We cannot have that. Horror and shock. Oh boy, some of that lead for Emilia Perez had some really nasty things that were said just like last year that are trying to be played off like, no, it was clearly a decade ago. No, we've got the screenshots.
Yeah, the word you're looking for is she's problematic.
I have the articles. We'll talk about that at
That's
the end.
a kind word. I'm not going to use it because I'm also not going to use the very mean word.
Please don't use mean. Oh, I thought you were going to say another mean word. I was like, please God, don't say it.
some other time. Or here's
Not
the
on this show.
substance. Hang on. Here's the substance. And oh no, a couple of people involved in this aren't screaming "Free Palestine" from the rooftops.
Okay.
So, well, hang on. So the gag became, that's a really Conclave way for Conclave to potentially win. And somebody else pointed out, no, if we're doing the Conclave plot, Nickel Boys wins.
Okay, so
You're kind of right.
so I pitched to my girlfriend's been asking me for a movie recommendation, which I keep forgetting to tell her Late Night with the Devil because I didn't see it. But Late Night with the Devil. In any case, she watched Anora last night, and she was like, "Why did you make me watch this again? What was the reason?" And I said, "Because it's on the Best Picture nominee." She's like, "It is?" She's like, "I don't think this deserves to win Best Picture." And then I go, "Yeah, it like swept the Golden Globes." And she was like, "It did?" Like just fucking shocked. It did?
Once again, if you wish to understand the gap between the very self-important jackasses who make these decisions and everyone else, people with lived experience are not blown away by Anora. I'm just saying.
Again, this is going to come back to when we talk about the controversy with the other movie, but I believe there is a reason why Anora has taken a last minute lead.
Well,
there's a phrase in
gotta-
like horse racing when the horse that was a little bit further behind suddenly pulls ahead. It's like
That's
that's
what I'm
what
saying,
we're
like,
kind of dealing with here.
You went Nickel Boys, but the obvious joke was Anora. Because, you know, if the top 4 movies that should win it, maybe, are now being tossed out of consideration because they're problematic for whatever the reasons are, then watch Anora come in and steal a victory. And I'm thinking, you know, it's kind of like a cash in of the Money in the Bank. You know, Anora is Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. It's just running down and,
Now,
you know.
hang on.
It's Anora with the chair.
It would be a
Hang
briefcase,
on.
but you got the
Mikey
idea.
Madison, as annoying as she is not quite as annoying as Seth Rollins.
Okay. All right. Anything else about
Look, substance is great. There's a handful of things I think it should win, and I'm really pulling for it to win Best Picture. It probably won't, but hey, I can
let me not fuck this up like I did with Anora. The Substance premiered May 19th at Cannes, and it won Fargo won for Best Screenplay. It was released in the United States and the UK by Mubi, which is not the thing from Kevin Smith, in September, and in France by Metropolitan Film Export in November. It grossed $77.1 million on a $17.5 million production budget and became Mubi's highest-growing film. It received critical acclaim and numerous accolades, including 5 nominations at the Oscars and the Golden Globes. Moore's performance won her a Golden Globe, a Critics' Choice, and a Screen Actors Guild, in addition to a nomination for Best Actress at the Oscars. All right, now we can talk about Wicked. Wicked, wow, happy face, never seen me smile.
Must we?
I edited myself. All right.
Okay, Wicked has 307 nominations, 96 wins, and it should be noted that of all the nominations, it is easily the most financially successful of all of the nominated films.
Let me address our friend here. He wants to know what we think about Emilia Perez. Friend, that's the last movie we're going to talk about because I love Robert to death. I would take a bullet for him no matter how much I pick at him at times, and rightfully so. But having known what I've known about him and experienced what I experienced with Barbie last year, we're doing Emilia Perez dead last. So just wait, it's coming.
Robert's like one of those Rottweilers with the spike chain being held back on a super tight leash. It's like, don't worry, you'll get your chance. Don't worry.
Yes. Anora, somebody just weighed in here. Anora won the Palme d'Or at Cannes. It certainly did. I forgot to mention that earlier, but you're absolutely right. All right, Wicked. God damn it, pal. Is a 2024 American musical fantasy film directed by John M. Chu. Would you please? Propriety, sir. Directed by John M. Chu and written by Winnie Holzman and Dina Fox. It adapts the first act. Because why? It adapts only the first act of the 2003 stage musical by Stephen Schwartz and Holzman,
and somehow is longer than the Broadway musical.
Yep, which is based on Gregory Maguire's 1995 novel, a reimagining of the Oz books, and the 1939 film The Wizard of Oz. Let me cut in real quick. For those that are just tuning in maybe for the first time, which thank you for joining us here, we did an entire Damn You Hollywood. It went almost the entire 2 hours plus talking about Wicked. A lot got discussed on that show. We are not going to revisit it here, but Robert did a very intelligent and thoughtful examination of why we are doing the sympathetic villain thing in culture, what that means for the greater culture, where it's leading us, nowhere good. It's worth it to go back and listen to just that. I have been neglectful in my editing lately, so I haven't cut it for TikTok just yet, but I should. It's worthy of listening to. And in any case, what we're here to discuss is whether or not it belongs on the list of best picture nominations. This, I feel, is Kevin Smith's populist choice. This is one that made a lot of money. It had a big fan base. A lot of people went to go see it. It was wildly successul. There are elements of it that are well. There are elements that are well done. Does it deserve to be here, Robert?
No. You look at me. Look at me. This is not a well-made movie. It's slow. The songs are direct. Hang on. The songs are cut up badly. They actually don't have the songs don't have momentum. If you actually listen to the way they're sung on Broadway versus how they're presented in this movie, there's no narrative. There's no flow. I'm not going to keep going longer than this. Hang on.
Just let her throw her tantrum. As long as she's doing it quietly, she's
I'm
behaving.
not. No. I look. I said on both our Wicked review and our best and worst of 2024 review, I talked about why I liked Wicked. I am not going to go in again about the production design or anything like that. I will just say I never thought I'd live in a world where Ariana Grande and Oscar-nominated actress were going to be in the same sentence.
Worst timeline, I agree.
Go back,
but I'm not going to say anything else about this movie. Robert, go ahead. I got to look over
Alexis,
something.
Go back to your tantrum. Go ahead, Robert.
Okay. There are things about this movie that I don't object to it being nominated for.
Right.
Costuming is brilliant. There's a lot of set design and production that is genuinely very, very good. I would not have nominated Ariana Grande because I think there were other performances that I would have nominated over it, but I don't hate her inclusion there necessarily. But if we're just talking again, film craft, is this one of the 10 best made movies of the year? No. No, it is not. It is poorly directed. Again, the songs are badly edited. Edit is the wrong word. They're badly arranged. Cynthia Erivo has a wonderful singing voice, and the woman can't sing and act at the same time.
Yep, said that repeatedly.
Don't go to the Hollywood Bowl later this year.
Stop picking fights with my friends.
It's way overlong. It actually misses a lot of the emotional moments. There's a couple that still work, but again, is this a terrible movie? No, I don't think it's a terrible movie. It is not one of the 10 best movies of the year. This is a populist choice, and guess what? If you're the populist choice, put air quotes around that, that's what the money's for. You don't need the hardware, you deeply insecure people.
Thank you, Harrison Ford. Let me give me 50 words on this, and then I'm going to read from the wiki, and then we're moving on. What's next after this? Okay, yeah. I don't believe it belongs on this list either. I'm not as angry about it as you are, because I do understand.
Somebody's got to bring personality to the arguments here, right?
Here's the thing: there shouldn't be a list of 10 nominees. First of all, it should be 5. Yeah. They added another 5 for this reason. And it's kind of like, well, why do you put salacious stuff in your newspaper? Because you have to sell paper. You can't just put the news. Why do why does Fox News, and so that I can appear fair-minded and even-handed, or MSNBC, why do the cable news channels have magazine-style shows that are salacious and not just straight news? Because you have to sell airtime for commercials and get people to watch. The fact of the matter is, people want to be entertained. If you take the entertainment value out of the Oscars, people won't watch. And there's only so much you can do with singing and dancing and comedians. And the fact that, the other side of this is, people, they want to see their tribe win. They want to see, their sports team win. They want to... People, whatever their weird reasons are, have a vested interest in things that they like, that they feel represent them, or that they have a vested interest in. winning.
This is the downside of telling people that representation is the be-all, end-all. Then
It
suddenly, everything that represents you becomes a part of your personality, and seeing
Right.
its success or failure is a deep offense and assault on your personhood.
And
And
it's
people, I'm telling you, grow a personality.
its exclusion means you're not seeing them. For God's sakes, the lead actress in this said, "When you erase my face from the poster, you erase me." And adults looked at her and said, "Oh God, lady, calm yourself."
Yeah, I never understood that argument. They edited the
fucking
post.
narcissist asshole. I don't care what else she's saying.
Yeah, I was just like, okay, so you don't like that the poster looks like the musical poster. Fair point, but really, and it's what was the what's the
You
phrase?
can't
That's the
release
hill
a
you want to
movie
die
poster.
on.
You can't release a movie poster featuring me with my likeness without my express likeness, preferably airbrushed to be more aesthetically pleasing.
Arrested Development is an airborne virus, and it's killing us all. That said, Wicked doesn't belong
It's
on this
in the
list,
smog over Southern California.
but it's on this list because they want people to watch this fucking thing, and they ain't watching it for goddamn nickel boys. So you throw on Wicked, you make the plebes happy. It's not winning. Who gives a fuck? Here's my fucking review of Wicked on the list. Moving on.
What's the next movie, Mark?
Speaking of jerking me off, Alexis. The best animated features. Go.
Oh shit, are we already? That was already 5. I
That
lost
was
count.
5, baby.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so the 5 nominated
By the way,
films.
king of transitions.
You're up there.
Hang on a
You're
second.
going to get a sternly worded message from my mother for that one, just by the way.
If your mother hasn't tolerated my casual misogyny by now, I don't know what else to do.
Okay, so our 5 films: Flow, Inside Out 2, Wild Robot, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul, and Memoir of a Snail. 3 of these films we did reviews on. So if you want to go check out those, that would, of course, be Inside Out 2, Wild Robot, and Wallace and Gromit. The Wallace and Gromit, actually, Robert and I had a blast reviewing because it was literally like, okay, so let's just talk about it. We loved it. There was like 4 of us, and none of us had a single negative thing to say about the whole freaking movie.
Pretty much.
So the other 2 that are nominated, Flow, which took home the Golden Globe for Best Animated Film, is... Hang on a second. Where the hell did that film come from? Having stuff ready to go in advance, Alexis. You should try it.
It's a lesson we all have to. It's a lesson we all only ever learn the hard way.
Okay, distributed by Latvia and France, made its premiere at the Cannes Film Festival. It is a silent movie taking place in what is apparently a post-apocalyptic world because we have no humans, and we follow a cat, a Labrador, a capybara, and a ring-tailed lemur as they all jump in a boat, and this sounds like a Mother Goose song.
I refuse to believe a capybara actually jumped in that boat. They found the boat, and the capybara
was in it.
Inside.
Yes, they did. Actually, you're absolutely
capybara
100%
don't
correct.
give up.
Okay, it is literally just these animals trying to survive. They don't communicate with each other. This is what I think we thought Wild Robot was going to be from the first
a little bit
trailer.
More, yeah.
Because the very first trailer for Wild Robot didn't have any dialogue. We thought it was going to be a lot like WALL-E, was very limited. Then we saw it's like, oh no, they got celebrity voice actors, which did not diminish it. I will get to that. But Flow is absolutely beautiful. It's an amazing film because even without dialogue, you have no problem understanding what all of these animals are doing, what they're thinking, what they're going through. I felt that they captured the behaviors extremely well. I've heard enough arguments out of people on whether or not cats have the ability to jump in the water and fish, so I'm not going to go into that. I don't know. I have dogs, not cats.
And as we all know from the movie Cats are not dogs.
Again, there's just so much work that went into this, mimicking the behavior of these animals. There's even a really adorable scene. The lemur has a basket of trinkets, little things that it's held onto. I don't know if this is actually a trait that lemurs do, if they collect stuff like pack rats or not. I don't know. But it's cute. And you have a scene the lemur takes out this hand mirror, and he's just kind of looking at it like, whoa, what is this? But you get a light reflection off of the mirror onto the side of the boat and a little dodge. So all of a sudden it turns into Catsy's laser pointer. And you have this one of the lemur just looking at the cat in the background is trying to catch the light, to the point that the cat actually looks over and just attacks just goes after the lemur. Like I said, it's absolutely beautiful. It's on HBO Max. I cannot recommend it enough. The other one that we did not get a chance to talk about is Memoir of a Snail. This is from the same director as Mary and Max. This is an Australian claymation film, a stop-motion animated tragic comedy, according to Wikipedia. It's also very interesting because while not silent, it is 90% narration. This is a style that the director Adam Elliott has used in his previous films because apparently he does not have enough money for his films to do proper lip syncing. So he chooses to have narration and majority of his characters speak off camera. It's an interesting choice, but I think it does work very well here. This is a powerful film. It is depressing as hell. It is about it starts off with an elderly woman's death and this young woman who was at her bedside describing her life story to a snail that she has just freed in the garden, about how her parents died when she was young. She was separated from her twin brother because no one in the foster system wanted to adopt twins, and how they tried to stay in contact and all the things they went along the way. Again, it's very powerful, especially for anyone who has grown up feeling like a loner, who had a hard time making friends, who was very isolated. Anyone who kind of got thrown around in the foster system will also appreciate this. It's a very interesting looking film. Adam Elliott, if you've seen Mary and Max before, you know he has a very interesting animation style. The characters are just, they're weird looking. There is no other way to say it. But I think it works with this. It's very gray. It's very gloomy. There's a lot of crying. There is so much crying. Do not watch this and Nickel Boys back to back. You will try to end it all. Ask me how I know that.
Okay. I don't want to talk about my pick for best animated feature. We're going to do picks later on in the show. I will tell you what doesn't deserve to be on this list is Inside Out 2. That is hardcore Disney lobbying for a spot. Full stop.
Yep.
You always ask me which of these films deserves the Oscar. Again, Flo won the Golden Globe, so it technically has the most stake, I would say, in the race. But in the end, I am simply saying any of these films, aside from Inside Out 2, deserves the award. I don't care if Wild Robot, Wallace and Gromit, Flo, or Memoir of a Snail go home with the Oscar, as long as it's one of those four. I do not. Inside Out 2, I put on my top 10 of best of 2024. I stand by it, but it does not hold a candle to these other four films.
Yeah, if Inside Out 2 wins the Oscar, I will fucking riot by myself in Valrico. Just running down the street, just flipping over cars and shit. Like, why are you so bad?
You'll make a beeline for Disney World over there, and you will just start causing a mild inconvenience.
Yes.
Oh please! If no one's destroyed Disney World yet, then nothing's gonna happen to that place.
All right, let's talk about a fun.
Also, for the record, most of those animated movies are better than the 10 movies we're talking about for Best Picture. Just throwing it out.
I feel like that's every year we say that.
No, it's very true this year.
Okay, let's talk about a really fun movie. Back to the last 5 on the Best Picture survey here is Dune Part 2. This is the second of the 3 that I think actually deserve to win Best Picture. So the first one was The Substance. Next one is Dune.
Dune has 374 nominations, 94 wins, and is the second film nominated starring Mr. Timothée Chalamet. Banner year for him.
Big Ben say what? Dune Part 2 is a 2024 American epic space opera film directed by Denis Villeneuve, who co-wrote the screenplay with John Spates. It is the sequel to Dune from 2021. It is the second of a 2-part adaptation of the 1965 unfilmable novel Dune by Frank Herbert. It follows Paul Atreides as he unites with the Fremen people of the desert planet Arrakis to wage war against the House Harkonnen. And half the people listening to us went, oh, my head. It stars a lot of people, including Timothée Chalamet. All right, so we talked about this when it came out last year. We did a Damn You Hollywood on it. I like this much more than I liked the first one, and that was mostly due because I think it had a more cohesive narrative. My complaint about the first one was the ending doesn't really pay off anything from the first 2/3 of the movie. This one, everything that got set up at the beginning, it's paid off at the end. I have gone back and listened to that review. We had a long conversation about the change in characterization of Zendaya's character. I stand by it after all this time. I think I think the changes that they made to her are were appropriate. I understand they are not reflections of the book. They're more reflective of modern mores. And if you have a problem with that, I understand. I don't. That being said, it's a gorgeous movie. It was photographed incredibly, special effects amazing, all performances pretty much on point. I absolutely loved Dune Part 2, and it absolutely deserves to be on this list. If I could cut this down to a reasonable 5, this still makes the list. This is darn good. Alexis, you were not on the Dune Part 2 review. What did you think of it?
Absolutely loved it. I always make the argument that there are certain movies that are theater movies. We always talk on the show.
Yeah, this was on your top 10, but it was like towards the bottom, wasn't it?
It was, and I think that's just because it had been a while since I saw it, and I only saw it in theaters and saw it once. So it's a case of if I saw it again, I'd probably knock it further up the list. But
Yeah.
But this is a movie you need to see in theaters. When Andre and I went to go see it, it was like, no, we're not just seeing it. We're going to the IMAX, and we're getting the best seats because you want that experience with the surround sound as the sandworms jump out of the sand to attack the pale ass people who's playing the Harkonnens.
Yes.
Really blew me away. Again, the things that really caught me in that movie were how atmospheric it became. I think I mentioned this in the best of 2024 discussion. I was that watching it, I knew we were going to see the Harkonnens planet because I knew from the teasers that we were going to see that. And after all, I was like, I'm getting kind of bored with the Arrakis and the sand. Let's go to the Harkonnen planet. 10 minutes into that, I was like, sweet Jesus, get me the hell out of here. Take me back to Arrakis. It makes you feel so uncomfortable. And of course, I'm like pretty sure that was the point. I will say that all the production, editing, visual effects nominations, I say either Wicked or Dune Part 2. If either of them get it, I'm fine.
Robert, does it deserve to be on the list?
Yeah, I can live with it being here. Look, this movie didn't hit me the way it hit a lot of you other people, and that's fine. We can all have different reactions to that kind of thing. But yeah, look, it's very well made. It's very well told. Yeah, I have no problem with this movie being here.
Okay. Dune Part 2 was released March 1st to positive reviews. It grossed $714 million worldwide, making it the 6th highest grossing film of 2024. It received numerous accolades, including being named one of the top 10 films of 2024 by the American Film Institute. It won Best Visual Effects at the 30th Critics' Choice Award and 2 BAFTAs at the 78th British Academy Film Awards for Best Sound and Best Visual Effects. 5 nominations at the Oscars, 2 nominations at the Golden Globes, and there's a sequel coming out, which is an adaptation of Dune Messiah. All right, so that's Dune.
I will say, I actually would argue the Villeneuve to get the Best Director award solely on the grounds of, do you have any idea how hard it is to hit a home run out of the park on this movie twice in a row, considering the hell that David Lynch went through?
Here's the problem they're going to run into. There's a non-trivial chance this winds up getting the Lord of the Rings treatment, where we kind of just kick all of its awards down the field until the third one.
It's so funny you say that because our friend here in the chat.
Oh, sorry, I hit the wrong button. Sorry.
Our friend here in the chat. Dune Part 2 is better than Part 1, but unfortunately it won't be awarded until we have Part 3. Yeah, Dune Messiah is going to get the Return of the King treatment, more than likely. All right, so let's talk about Conclave. Go ahead, Alexis.
All right, got to scroll back up. Conclave, 315 nominations, 80 wins, 8 Oscar nominations. This is already available on Peacock. Go check it out if you haven't.
All right, Conclave is a 2024 political thriller directed by Edward Berger and written by Peter Straub, based on the 2016 novel by Robert Harris. It stars Ralph Fiennes, Stanley Tucci, Ray Fiennes, rather, John Lithgow, Sergio Castellitto, and Isabella Rossellini. In the film, Cardinal Thomas Lawrence organizes a conclave to elect the next pope and finds himself investigating secrets and scandals about the major candidates. We'll talk about its awards in a little bit. We did a triple feature on this already. Alexis, what did you think of Conclave, real quick?
I wouldn't award it Best Picture, but this is easily the most brilliantly written film I think we have of 2024. The script I thought was genius. The acting of all of the leads was amazing. I am constantly blown away by John Lithgow. I don't know why. I don't know why every time I see him in something, it's like, why did I forget that you can act? You are incredible. You know, always Ray Fiennes, Stanley Tucci both brought their A games. This was a really, really good
Ray
film.
Fiennes doesn't get talked about enough, but the man is a generational talent. If you look at the scope of his career, he's incredible.
And it's probably also going to get pretty popular again, because if you've been following the news, we are like 90% on the verge of another conclave.
And the news releases about the Pope are coming from the doctor from Arrested Development.
So
they are so badly phrased. Like, the Pope passed the night peacefully. Like, you're real close there, buddy.
You ever think maybe it's just a translation issue?
No, not anymore.
All right, so real quick, I keep saying, if a reasonable list should only be 5 movies nominated for Best Picture. I think 10's excessive. If we're picking our 5, mine is Nickel Boys, which I already said. I'm Still Here, which I've already said. The Substance, Dune Part 2, and we haven't talked about it yet, but The Brutalist. Conclave doesn't make the list for me if I have to limit this to 5. Because there's 10.
5.
Okay, because there's 10 spots, it's fine to be on here. I don't have an argument with its placement. I just don't think it's better than the 5 I've already said. That's my personal opinion.
It's a better movie than Nickel Boys. I don't think that's a terribly complicated sentiment.
I think the photography in Nickel Boys is more interesting than Conclave. I think where Conclave is successful, more successful than Nickel Boys, is the screenplay. The actual
acting, music.
We're getting into
cohesion.
Robert. We are digging into, I think, also personal preferences at this point. This is starting to sway subjective, so it's not worth fighting about. But I'm interested to hear your opinions. I just starting to feel a little bit too much like personal preference between you and I. In any case, Conclave is good. We talked about it already. Like I said, if I have to fill out 10 spots, Conclave is definitely one of the best made movies of the year. It's just not one of the top 5. Robert, I'll give you the last word on this.
It's probably my 4 or 5. All things considered, if you tell me to fill out, again, what do I think are the 5 best? It's probably there for me, but it would be in one of the spots that's like disputed. I mean, the top 2, like the top 3, like nobody's arguing with Substance, Brutalist, and Dune Part 2, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. So it's what are your last 2 is where we're fighting.
It would be one of the other. In general, it would be one of the other 2 for me. Yes.
Right. Okay. Conclave was named one of the top 10 films of 2024 by the National Board of Review and the American Film Institute. Among other accolades, it received a leading 12 nominations at the 78th British Academy Film Awards, winning 4, the joint most of the evening for Best Film, Outstanding British Film, Best Adapted Screenplay, and Best Editing. 2 nominations at the 31st Screen Actors Guild, winning the top prize for Outstanding Performance by a Cast in Motion Picture, as well as 8 nominations at the 97th Academy Awards, and 6 Golden Globes, winning Best Screenplay. I would not just because I want people to, watch our podcast reviews. Go back and listen to the triple feature that Robert and I did. We joined Conclave with A Complete Unknown and The Brutalist, and we had a really good conversation about Conclave, especially the ending where the newly elected Pope reveals that he is not unisex. What's the word I'm looking for? And thank you. Intersex. You know, film is a great place to discuss ideas, not just whether or not a movie is good or whether or not actually discussing whether or not a movie entertained you is like the lowest form of review. I say to everybody on the internet. And I hate it, and I hate you all. No, but I think using film as a prism to discuss high ideas is where it's at once you get past pure film craft. And Robert and I had a really interesting discussion about what it would mean to have an intersex pope, and what the author was saying about religion, society. It was one of the better conversations I've had, I would say, in the last 3 or 4 months of doing this. So, occasionally as we work through the slop of modern Hollywood, there's the rare jewel that is Conclave. And I think, if I may pat ourselves on the back, listening to Robert and I kick that ball around is worth your time. So triple feature, Conclave, of Complete Unknown, and The Brutalist. Check it out. Oh, fuck. That being said, hey, speaking of a complete unknown. Alexis, while I quick pull up the tab that I just closed. Go.
Complete Unknown, 129 nominations, 21 wins. And yes, welcome back, Mr. Timothy Chalamet. I actually think he was much better in this than he was in Dune 2, but that's just like saying that, this color crayon is slightly brighter than this color crayon. He was great in both, but he really blew me away with his portrayal of Bob Dylan. I do have to ask you guys, considering that Mangold also did Walk the Line, what musician biopic do you think he's going to do next? Because if I had to put money on it, I'd say Buddy Holly.
We've already done a Buddy Holly one. If you're going to do somebody. I would love somebody to actually tackle Metallica, but just up to the point that Jason Newsted replaces Cliff Burton.
Look, I'm not saying we need a Buddy Holly. I'm just saying, looking at his style of films, I think his pattern and his style would be...
That's next in line?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it ain't Tupac.
So I haven't really addressed this. I want to just kind of quick display a couple of comments here, because there's a back and forth going on in our chat. So we have my bet for best picture is Conclave. All right.
It's kind of getting it's my second pick personally, if I wanted to root on.
So then we have this new
what
friend
I wanted to win.
Going, agree, that's my pick also. And then the substance over Conclave, it's Via. I'm like, all right, what do you want from me? There was things about the substance that I liked more than Conclave. What are you going to do? All right, so back to a Complete Unknown. 2024 American biographical music drama directed by James Mangold, who wrote the screenplay with Jay Cox, the American singer-songwriter Bob Dylan, based on the 2015 book Dylan Goes Electric by Elijah Wald. The film portrays Dylan through the earliest folk music success until the momentous controversy over his use of electric instruments.
Controversy over using instruments. Who would have thought?
It stars Timothy Chalamet, Ed Norton, Elle Fanning, Monica Barbero, and a whole bunch of other people. It is derived from the chorus of Dylan's 1965 song Like a Rolling Stone. It was named one of the top 10 films of 2024 by the American Film Institute and the National Board of Review, the latter of which was also awarded Fanning for Best Supporting Actress, and I'll come back to this momentarily. So like I said, we did a triple feature with this in Conclave and The Brutalist. I saw it well before we reviewed it. I loved it. My daughter loved it. My son was fed up. But I like the fact that
your son has the appropriate reaction to the folk music hippies. Is
wonderful.
Kind of along and couldn't get kind of beyond that.
Wonderful. Your spiritual godson, Jonas Radulich.
I know, it's kind of cute.
Anyway, I really liked it. I said at the time of our review, I liked the story of a musician who is caught up in a political movement, realizes that music will serve no purpose here, and just wants to do his own thing, much to the chagrin of everybody around him. And, the punk rock sort of aesthetic of Dylan playing electric at a folk festival appealed to my heart. I don't believe it should be on this list. It's a well-made movie. It's a great movie. I was highly entertained by it. I don't think, personally, it's one of the top 10 movies of this year. I don't believe it should have been nominated for Best Picture. Alexis, you just saw it within the last couple of days. What did you think of it?
I just saw it earlier today, and like a Rolling Stone will not get out of my head.
Okay.
I enjoyed it, but I'm going to be
I
honest.
recommend Brown Sugar.
Brown
There's my terrible music pun for the evening.
Brown sugar.
Ghost in the corner. I hate to say it, as much as I enjoyed it, I prefer Walk the Line. I looked at this and I was like, so this is Walk the Line Part 2, right? Again, that's why I made the joke about what biopic do you think he's going to do next? Because, yeah, I enjoyed it, but I couldn't help but pull parallels.
I don't want to spark an argument. I think you're giving the movie extremely short shrift, but you're entitled to. It's your opinion. It's your take on it.
I'm not saying it's a bad movie. Far from it.
I didn't say that. Listen to the words I'm actually saying. I think you're not looking deep enough into the movie, or whatever the message of the movie is didn't reach you personally.
That's probably because while I enjoy Bob Dylan, I have never called myself like a big Dylan fan. You know, I think there's a lot of musicians that will all say we like, but if people ask us like, well, what's your favorite album? We're just going to stare at them blankly going, what? It's like, yeah, I know Bob Dylan's amazing, but the whole, him building up to the electric thing, it's like I knew of it and I knew the response to it, but I don't know enough about folk music to really grasp the importance of it.
So your inability to see the point of the movie stems from your not understanding the relevance of him playing electric in the folk culture.
Kind of.
Okay.
Again, it's like I'm not a music person. I am completely tone deaf. I maybe if I'd done more research before I went in to see this movie, I would have understood it.
I'm not going to take it back and beat you. You're a lot. Look, there's certain things that I'm going to miss. That Robert kind of like. Actually, a really great example of this is Robert sort of quasi chastising one or both of us for not being religious and missing the point of something. I don't know if it was Conclave or if it was Emilia Perez, but it was one of the last reviews that we did. You raised an objection to something, and Robert's exact words were, I don't mean this to sound mean or something along those lines, but you're not religious, so you're missing the point. So,
it was our discussion on the ending of Conclave.
Okay. So, look, I'll accept that. Let's move this on. Robert, deserves to be here or doesn't deserve to be here?
Yeah, if I have to fill out 10 spots, this is somewhere in the, 7 to 9 category for me. I could probably find something to replace it on the list with if I wanted to, but I'm not up in arms over it. With 10 spots, there's also kind of this prevailing theory, I think, among the nomination process where if you qualify for at least 2 of the other Oscars, they'll just kind of elevate you into Best Picture category. Because Timothée Chalamet is nominated for Best Actor out of this and absolutely deserves to be nominated.
Mm-hmm.
There's like sound design and I think costuming as well. There's a couple of other sort of technical elements of film craft. And isn't one of the Elle Fanning's nominated for Best Supporting Actress too, right?
Hang on, I'll check the ballot.
Hey, while you're looking that up, we have a comment here. I predict Chalamet will be the Leonardo DiCaprio of his generation. He does great things, but it'll take time for him to receive great recognition.
That's probably very true because he's gonna. He's done it took me 5 years to learn to sing like Bob Dylan in preparation for this role, and bless you, sir, it paid off. You're up against at least 3 other guys, though, who are probably going to wind up burying your performance here. And I feel bad for you because Timothée Chalamet is a very good actor, but I think that's right. Like he's gonna have to go sleep in the dead animal to finally get it.
For the record, Elle Fanning is not nominated. Okay. Monica Barbaro.
Okay, I knew one of them.
Yeah,
was.
She's nominated.
Yeah, I knew one of them was. I couldn't remember which one.
Yeah.
So there's some acting stuff here that should be nominated. But
what is up with your camera tonight?
It's trying to autofocus.
The film earned 8 nominations at the Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Actor. Best Supporting Actor, Best Supporting Actress. It also received 3 nominations at the Golden Globes, 4 at the Screen Actors Guild Awards, and 6 at the British Academy Film Awards. It had a budget of $70 million and made 110, and it's currently not streaming anywhere. You have to go see that one in theaters. Alrighty. Let's move on to the next movie. And that is The Brutalist. Yay!
Okay, The Brutalist, 345 nominations, 118 wins. Essentially, the best picture, the argument for which should win Best Picture, it is going down between Anora and this. It's like you're on one side of the fence or the other.
Yeah, my three were Brutalist, Dune Part 2, and The Substance. If one of those wins, if one of those three wins, I'll be happy. Anything but those three wins, I'll be annoyed. Anyway, The Brutalist is a 2024 epic. By that, it means 4 hours. Period drama.
All it means is long in this case. It's a long biopic, fictional biopic.
Directed and produced by Brady Corbett, who co-wrote the screenplay with Mona Fastfold. It stars Adrian Brody as a Hungarian Jewish Holocaust survivor who emigrates to the U.S., where he struggles to achieve the American dream until a wealthy client changes his life. It also features Felicity Jones, reminding us
his life is in air quotes there because he just sexually assaults him in the Italian marble quarry.
My main question, has Adrian Brody become the new Daniel Day-Lewis? It's like he only shows up in movies
really
where
wants to be.
I can't even get to the cast list now. Felicity Jones reminding us that she can act. Guy Pearce reminding us that he can act. And some other people. All right, now make your stupid jokes, people. Piss me off. Go ahead.
Which one of us?
Yes. All right. A co-production between the U.S. and the UK and Hungary. The Brutalist premiered at the 81st Venice International Film Festival. And it was awarded the Silver Lion for Best Direction. It was released by A24. Either home runs or foul balls into the stands hitting a small child. And then it was distributed by Focus Features through Universal Pictures. And we'll go back to this momentarily. This was the last of the three movies we linked together for that triple feature. It was Conclave, Complete Unknown, and The Brutalist. I love The Brutalist. It made I hadn't seen it when we did our year in review. When I went on Chris and Neil's show, it had shot to number 1 on my list. It is my favorite movie of this year. That is me being a snooty film person. But I genuinely believe it is the best well made, best acted, best photographed. There's something about this movie that is really pinging me, and I get that it's not going to ping most people, but I really tried to look at this as objectively as I could and divorce myself from my own subjective feelings. And I can't say enough good things about the way this movie was made. And we're having a discussion about the way films are made. And this by far is the most superiorly made movie of this year. Full stop. That's my thought about it. Alexis, what did you think of The Brutalist?
I really didn't like it.
There's a shock.
Okay, for a couple different. Now, before I start this, I will say the acting in this was amazing.
Guy Pearce should win. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Yeah, Brody, Jones, Pearce, all were outstanding, incredible. Especially considering that so many shots in this movie were very, very long takes. There was very little rapid fire editing. So you had a lot of scenes where it's like you're focusing on the actors and they got to be on. It's like, no, we can't just fix this in post, or no, we can't just cut to B-roll. No, they have to be on for like 10 straight minutes of dialogue, and they have to get every part of it right. That is a challenge, and it is very impressive.
I would like to remind everybody that Alexis's number 1 movie of the year was Deadpool versus Wolverine. Please continue. I earned that.
Yes, you did. Very much so. You are not the first person I flipped off today, and you will not be the last.
I hope it was for that reason alone.
My problem with the film is two things. Firstly, I am not a fan of Okay, is it Brady Corbett or I've heard Brady Corbett. I've heard it's a French pronunciation.
Fine, Corbett.
Couldn't tell you.
Okay, I'm not a fan of his work. I have seen Vox Lux, and after watching The Brutalist, I was like, wow, Brady, you're kind of a one-trick pony, aren't you? He reused...
Worse than Yorgos?
Worse than
Yorgos?
Way worse than Yorgos. Way worse than Yorgos.
Oh, that hurts.
Almost as much of a one-trick pony as David Simon, then.
We're just going to have a merry-go-round of Middle fingers.
I will not be flipping anyone the bird tonight, so it ends there.
Okay, my goal now is to get Robert to flip me off so that the cycle is complete.
Finish your statement, please.
Okay, he uses a lot of the same styles, a lot of the same tricks, and frankly, his style of filming is one of the most pretentious styles I have seen in a while. We've talked about this before. We talk about movies. I really am not a fan of directors who are just like, you can't cut it. It's my baby. I watched The Brutalist and I just had this image in my head of Brady just clutching the film. Like, no, you can't edit it. You can't chop a single scene. I won't let you. Because again, I watched Vox Lux and I saw that they had to do a lot of editing on that, including adding a really pointless Willem Dafoe narration to try to speed things along, because it's unbearably clear they just looked at what Corbett gave them and it was just like, wow, we need to perform 911 on this piece of shit to try to save it. And the other problem, and Mark, you and I talked about this briefly. Again, I understand the idea. It's like, I'm not going to say, well, I didn't like it because I didn't enjoy it. I'm not going to say that.
Oh, good.
But I am going to say I am less receptive to a movie if it feels like an ocean of despair swallowing me whole. I have problems with depression and anxiety. I've talked about it before. Movies like The Brutalist, I get what they were going for with that. I can't deal with it. It just makes me want to just go to sleep and just be like, it's like I just need to completely blank out what I have just sat through for the last 4 hours.
So it's the same body of water. You drown in it. There's me, like, doing, swimming, doing the backstroke, like, whee!
Oh, who are you kidding? You're doing cannonballs into the water, and you're slowly as you sink. You see my body just floating in midair, and you're like, okay, and then you swim back up.
So you're both at the what is it? The Adventure Park in New Jersey, and you're in the wave pool.
Good reference. Right. Good reference. But no, I do not handle well with movies that are just an avalanche of despair and sadness.
A triangle of sadness, again. You might say.
Don't.
No, that was just a stupid movie. That had nothing to do with
terrible movie.
Yeah.
I recommended that to the girlfriend the other day, by the way.
You're trying to get broken up with? Is that what you're doing?
She didn't hate it. Didn't love it, but didn't hate it.
That is self-sabotage, my man. Please.
If you say you love The Brutalist and you love it for those the reasons, Mark, that you named off, that's fine. It's not a case of it's like, well, I think you're wrong and here's why. It's like, no, I get it. But just know that this movie hit every check of why I don't like certain movies. So I cannot get behind it.
Robert, you agree it belongs on the list, though. I think you've already said that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't go too far into the art house style, but it's a very art house in spirit kind of film.
Yeah.
It's long. There's some pretension. I don't think there's any way around that. The question is whether or not it goes too far for your personal tastes. Shrug. That's personal taste. Yeah, I have no problem with it being here. Non-trivial chance it wins. Non-trivial chance Adrian Brody wins. Guy Pearce should win. Like, there's a lot good here.
The film received critical acclaim and accolades for its direction, screenplay, performances, cinematography, and score. Several critics viewed it as a return to form for resurrecting the intermission and VistaVision, the latter of which was mostly used until the 1960s. The film earned 10 nominations at the Oscars, 9 nominations at the BAFTAs, several nominations at the Golden Globes, named one of the top 10 movies of 2024 by the American Film Institute, grossed $36.6 million against a $9.6 million budget. So there you go. All right, we are winding down here. Yes, we are finally at the last movie of this list before we can move on. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar WrestleMania main event you've all been waiting for.
Which one?
Finally, you get to hear 3 people talk about the magnum opus that is Emilia Perez.
246 nominations, 105 wins,
Please continue to read
13
it like you're reading a
Oscar
hostage
nominations. What?
Please continue to read that like it's a hostage letter.
It's the only way it got those nominations. Someone is being held hostage.
Keep going.
Robert, do you want me to go first, or do you want to go
No,
first on this?
I have talked about this a little bit before. You have not, so by all means, go ahead.
Watched this last night. It's available on Netflix. I didn't like it. Okay, I really did. I'm trying to be tactful.
And every one of Alexis's LGBTQI plus friends was like, "Fuck you, Alexis!" It's like throwing Scrabble tiles at her. You're out of the club. You're out of the band.
What are you talking about? They throw Scrabble tiles at me willingly because they know I can use them. If they're mad at me, they're hoarding them away from me.
Good takeaway. Keep going.
Someone's coming over with a shop vac to
right,
take
so
away all of your craft tools.
All right, so
Oh, that's horrible.
All right, so Alexis hates the gays. Go. I can't do the to Ronnie anymore. So guess who gets it?
Lucky me. Okay,
you
like I
could.
said, watched this last night, and I had a couple different takeaways. Firstly, I felt like this was a movie that started off as just a script about a cartel member who decided that they wanted a sex change and wanted to get out of it. And I thought, well, if that was just the movie, it was fine. But the more I watched, the more I felt like a chef that just kept adding more stuff to the season, more seasoning. It's just like, oh, let's make it the cartel leader. Oh, let's make it a musical. It's just like, no, why didn't you quit while you're ahead? And I got to add this quote from my husband, especially because he just walked in and he's going to hear me say this. He was walking in and out while I was watching this movie, and I was explaining parts of it to him, and he looked at me and he said, so if you get a sex change operation, you're automatically forgiven for years of murder and crime? Okay,
Yes.
Good to know.
That's how that works. Robert,
Yeah,
you want to read the quote on that? You want to read the quote on the screen?
This
Sure,
film
this
is
from
an
our
insult
friend,
to our
No,
Mexican
Robert. I want
brother.
Robert to do it. Shut
Oh,
up. I want
fuck.
Robert to do it.
Well, be more specific next time.
I said Robert 3 times. Robert,
didn't
4
hear you.
times.
Sorry.
Go.
So this is from our friend. If I mispronounce this, I apologize. But Sinichao, because CAIO is Chow, and I think the Brazilian Portuguese does that, pronounces it that way. If not, the Italians do. So I'm taking a guess there. I apologize if I got that wrong. I see enough Portuguese names. I should have a decent handle on it. This film is an insult to our Mexican brothers and a crime against trans people.
You feel better about yourself now?
You wanted me to do that.
Yes, I know, and I wanted you to feel good about yourself. That's so I'm legitimately asking you. Do you feel good now? Moving on. Alexis,
So much of this movie,
softball throw. Hit the umpire.
so much of this movie felt like I couldn't understand how this got off. Like I said, it felt like there was originally a good script there, and then people just kept adding more stuff to it. And I'm just sitting going, how did we get to this point? I couldn't understand why we were supposed to feel sympathy for this main character. It's like, so you faked your death, you let your wife and children think you died, and now all of a sudden you want to come back into their life and have a say over it. Sweetie, you said that you didn't care that they thought you were dead. You have given up your right to have any say on your children. So many of the songs really felt shoehorned in. Especially...
Boy, can I tell you, the number of people reacting to the news that the Oscars will not feature the live performances of the best song nominees was large, because I don't have to listen to those crappy Emilia Perez songs again.
Penis to vagina.
Pretty much. I have seen enough outrage from the trans community who were furious at how they essentially say it's like, this is not a representation of us. This is not a representation of what we go through. Please do not associate us with this piece of crap.
Oh my God.
And the Mexican response to this was really bad. Like, they almost had to break out police forces to stop rioting or looting and burning of theaters showing it.
Nice. Well,
and frankly, after years of watching Only Murders in the Building, I cannot buy Selena Gomez in this role. She does a good job with what she's given. God bless her for trying to say, I'm no longer a Disney actress, and try to really go outside and try something different. but I'm watching this going, no, 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 no. I do not see you as a cartel's wife in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
Doesn't help that her Spanish is very obviously accented.
All right, I have.
The
Hang
only-
on,
I would say-
stop for a second. I have already said my piece on this movie. Robert and I did a triple feature. It was The Last Showgirl, which I'm bummed got entirely some from this. More on that in a moment. Anora, and then Emilia Perez. Robert and I had a lengthy discussion about this. I don't want to revisit any of that, but listen to the review. It's kind of what I said about Conclave. It was a good discussion between two fairly bright individuals about a tense and controversial subject. I will only say this, and then I'm going to give it to Robert to say what he needs to say about this and get this monkey off
Bat
his back.
cleanup.
Yeah. I initially agreed with its placement on the list. If there are 10 spots, it obviously doesn't deserve to be there if you're narrowing this down to 5. I've already said that 1,000 times tonight. But I now no longer think it's even one of the 10 best. And I started thinking about that, not because of any of the reasons you guys are citing. I don't care about any of this. Mexicans can be bad people and good people, as can be trans. The argument that this makes trans people look bad, go fuck yourself. Humanity is both good and bad. It should be represented both ways on film. You're part of the human race. Grow thick skin, you assholes. That said,
I'll address. I kind of want to push back on that just a hair, but I will.
Fine. You'll have your time.
I will let you finish.
If Cuckoo's not going to be listed as one of the top 10 movies of this year, neither should Emilia Perez. And the reason why I say, like, wait, why is he talking about Cuckoo? Because I added this whole thing about Cuckoo being a really interesting photographed movie. It really played with the medium in a way that was interesting to me. But I didn't think that was the top 10 best movie of the year either. I thought it was good. I think it made my my honorable mentions because I think it deserves. I think it deserves viewing. For people looking for film recommendations from me. Hi, girlfriend. Cuckoo. I would recommend it. And that's kind of where I landed with Emilia Perez. I'm going, oh, this was interesting. This was sort of a weirdo movie. I like weirdo movies. As Robert said, I like weirdo gay movies. It's a weirdo gay movie. Does that, now I'm artificially inflating it to top 10. And I was like, okay, I need to push back against myself and my inclinations to artificially inflate the weird. And so I am. And I don't think it deserves to be on this list. I think it's there for a lot of the same reasons Anora is here. Almost all of them, as a matter of fact. That said, Robert, you have the final word here on Emilia Perez and all of our top 10 movies here.
So, yeah, Emilia Perez should not be here. This is one of the few movies that I feel very confident saying is not one of the 10 best made movies. Once again, there's a handful of elements about it that I have no problem with nominations for. Again, there's a handful of the production design elements that I think are actually well handled. It's shot fairly well in this few different circumstances and sequences. Others, it's a mess, but, kind of one of those movies. Zoe Saldana, I believe, got a nomination out of this.
Mm-hmm. And she is the best part of this movie.
Hands down. Selena Gomez is terrible. I stand by that.
Everyone apart from Zoe Saldana is pretty terrible, but...
Yeah, I actually messaged Robert while I was watching it, and I said about the lead actress. I was like, okay, so she's good. I'm not there. At no point in this movie did I say, oh God, why did they cast her? It's like, no, she's good, but you compare this to the other actresses who were up for best actress. It's like, not even close.
She got it for being trans, and it's a political.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Robert.
And because trans is the underlying logic behind 90% of what this movie does, narratively, plot-wise, and its bad attempts at emotional manipulation. Alexis messaged me after she got done with it and said, fine, you win. This movie sucks.
I did.
Sorry. I referred to the morality of this movie as grotesque when we reviewed it, which I stand behind. Oh, incredibly evil person. I would like to be a woman. Okay, I will blackmail and threaten this lawyer into making sure that happens. Okay. I'm believe it or not, I can still track. I'm then going to reappear in this lawyer's life and we're going to become best friends. No, I'm going to fake my own death and leave my children and wife traumatized and grieving my loss. Then try to re-enter it as though nothing had changed. No. Get real bitter at my wife for moving on from my death. No. Be presented as a hero for all of this because now I am a woman. No. Exploit my knowledge of mass graves and the fate and the disappeared fate of hundreds of people to start a nonprofit that deifies me. It's where I am, after my death at the end of the movie, basically sainted by all these people that I preyed upon for decades.
Eva Perón, you are not.
You are welcome to go play in traffic with that bullshit morality.
Not to mention, the story feels incredibly rushed at points. The whole musical number about how Emilia is now in love with this other woman, and she's like, and it's just like, okay.
Snort. For the visually impaired. Go ahead, Robert.
I'm stealing this.
I'm going to need you to read that out loud, please.
Once again from Cinechow. Emilia Perez is the birth of a nation of our generation.
I need that on a t-shirt, Mindy.
Hang on.
Well done.
I might have to steal that at some point in the future. That's real good.
Oh my God.
And part of the reason I wanted to push back on something you'd said, Mark, I'll be quick here.
It's fine.
Your notion that, the trans community is like, you should really only portray us in a positive light. If that were their kind of pushback on this, their objection, I'd agree with you. The problem isn't, to my way of thinking, the problem isn't, oh no, cartel bosses can be trans. That's not it. It's more that this evil person is presented as good because they're trans. And that's kind of what I feel like. What?
Okay. Yeah, that's a problem. I agree.
And I feel like that's more what they're kind of pushing back on. Like, whoa, we don't want these kind.
We're treating,
exactly.
Stop. We're treating the state of trans sexual as like Catholic confession. You were suddenly absolved of your sins.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I think they're trying to push back on as well. Like,
yeah, that's a huge problem.
This is gross. Just a little bit gross.
I was going to say the trans community's argument is essentially not against this movie so much it's because this movie is getting acclaim because it's starring a trans actress and because its focus is on a trans. They're saying it's like, we don't want to be associated because all you guys are doing with this movie is virtue signaling to us.
Right.
They don't want that.
And that's a valid argument.
And it doesn't help that the director is the kind of person who, when the trans community said, we're not really down with this, he went, shut up and like what I tell you to like. Is sort of and stormed out after not winning at the Golden Globes. Like, you can see him. No, I lost to the substance. I will throw a giant hissy fit. Good. I hope the door hits you in the head on the way out. And
it's like, dude, you somehow won Best Musical over Wicked. Okay. How are we in a universe where that happened?
We are done in 10 seconds, Robert. Go.
That's kind of my piece on that.
Okay. So let's talk, Robert, get your pen out. Let's do Oscar picks. So I have to narrow down my best picture pick. I'm going to go with, do I pick
Here, hang on. I'll go ahead and pull up the ballot.
You do that. Robert's actually going to do a handwritten thing like we talked about.
I'm not doing it handwritten. I got a thing on my second monitor, so I will write them down.
Is that big enough for you guys?
Sounds great. All right. So do I pick my baby, or do I pick what I think?
Wait. The audience score for Emilia Perez is cratered to 17%.
Well, there is a God. there is justice. Oh, by the way,
it's also the only. If you look, it is the only one that is in the negative. Every other one is still positive or glowing. That is the only one.
I forgot to do this part really quick. At the Emilia Perez's 13 nominations, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actress, which is horseshit. Best Supporting Actress. It 4 awards at the Golden Globes. It also made history by becoming the most nominated non-English language film at both ceremonies. 11 nominations at the BAFTAs. Saldana won Best Supporting Actress at the Golden Globes. Critics' Choice, British Academy of Film Awards, and Screen Actors Guild. All right, now we're done with that. All right, for the sake of time, I'm going to say my Best Pick nomination is The Brutalist. Alexis?
Hang on. Okay.
I'm going to go with okay, wait, am I picking what I personally would want to win? Or okay.
Yeah, we're doing picks now so that we can grade ourselves later.
If personal pick, what I would want is The Substance. What I think is going to win is Anora.
Okay, and Robert picks Emilia Perez. Next, Best Director. Just kidding.
Yo, I thought Alexis was the one trying to get me to flip him off, Mark. I'm gonna go with The Substance.
Okay.
I don't think it will win, but it's the one I think is the most interesting.
All right, Best Director is Sean Baker for Anora, Brady Corbett for The Brutalist, James Mangold for A Complete Unknown, Jacques Augier for Emilia Perez, and Coralie Fargett for The Substance. I feel like Best Picture and Best Director tend to go hand in hand.
Tend to, but that's not.
It's not a proven. Yeah, it's not a proven track record, but I would say the ratio is definitely there.
I'm going to go with Brady. I'm just going to be consistent here and go with Brady Corbett for The Brutalist. Alexis?
I'm going to go with Sean Baker. But again, I have a feeling Brady might win, even though one trick pony.
Okay. But you can answer these any way you want. If you want, whatever it is, that's the one we're going with. That's the one we're grading against. So if you want to pick the one you want to win, fine. But however you want to answer
I'm sorry. I just think I want to be. I just want to give my opinion on both.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just saying you can answer it however you want, but that's the answer that we're going with. Robert, Best Director.
What the heck? I'll go with Corbett as well.
Okay. Best Actor in a Leading Role, Adrian Brody for The Brutalist, Timothée Chalamet for A Complete Unknown, Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing, Ray Fiennes, Conclave, and Sebastian Stan, The Apprentice. Ooh, my personal one. I would love Sebastian Stan to win for The Apprentice for Donald Trump.
If I had a purely emotional rooting interest, I'm with Stan on this one.
Yeah, as am I.
I haven't seen Apprentice or Sing Sing yet. I don't even think Sing Sing has been released into theaters around here yet.
I will go with Ray Fiennes for Conclave.
Ooh, you changed your mind on that one.
Why? What did I say originally?
But you said Brody.
You were all over Adrian Brody the last time we talked about this.
Yeah, I've changed my mind. It's Ray Fiennes for Conclave. Alexis?
Fair enough.
Probably Brody. Yeah, again, as much as I don't like that movie, he was absolutely phenomenal in his role. So I have no qualms giving it to him.
Hang on. The temptation to pick somebody else is quite high, but I'm rooting for Ray Fiennes. I have started to really appreciate his filmography a lot more in his career, and I'm rooting for the guy, so I'll go with Ray Fiennes.
All right, Best Actress in a Leading Role, Cynthia Erivo for Wicked, Carlos Sofia Gasson for Emilia Perez, Mickey Madison for Anora, Demi Moore for The Substance, and Fernanda Torres for I'm Still Here. I picked Demi Moore for The Substance, full stop.
I second.
I will third. We have our first unanimous agreement amongst us.
Really? I thought you were going to go with Carla.
You're trying too hard now, Mark.
Best Actor in a Supporting Role, Yura Borisov for Anora, Kieran Culkin for A Real Pain, Ed Norton for A Complete Unknown, Guy Pearce for The Brutalist, Jeremy Strong for The Apprentice. Ooh, this is a three-way tie for me, but I got to pick one. Oh gosh.
You know, I don't understand. Okay, again, I totally support Mickey Madison's nomination for Anora. She was great, and she definitely deserves the nomination.
She's probably winning for the record.
I don't understand Yura Borisov's nomination. He was good. He was
my
really
God,
good.
I loved him. He's like the best part of Anora for me. And like, so my three is him, Guy Pearce, and Jeremy Strong. And there's so much of me that wants to pick Jeremy Strong for The Apprentice. But let's make an educated choice here. Guy Pearce for The Brutalist. Alexis?
Kind of hard to say because again, I haven't seen The Apprentice, and I need to see A Real Pain. It's on streaming. I need to go check it out. I am a big
The Apprentice. The Apprentice was fantastic.
Oh, I know. I'm just more eager to watch A Real Pain. So it's kind of hard to say since I two of these guys I haven't seen, and one I'm sitting there going, why the hell are you on this list? I'd like to see Edward Norton win for A Complete Unknown. I really liked him, but yeah, I could probably see Guy Pearce getting it.
Yeah, I was pretty vocal earlier. Guy Pearce would be my pick here. Much as I did appreciate Edward Norton being one of those like sickeningly earnest characters that you want to punch in the face. It's a strong. That's actually a fairly strong field, all things considered. But yeah, Guy Pearce, I think, was the one who kind of jumped off the screen most of all of them for me.
Okay. Best Actress in a Supporting Role, Monica Barbaro for A Complete Unknown. Ariana Grande for Wicked. Felicity Jones in The Brutalist. Isabella Rossellini, Conclave. And Zoe Saldana, Emilia Perez. Felicity Jones, The Brutalist. Full stop.
I say Zoe Saldana. And that is one of the only awards I will admit to Emilia Perez deserving.
If I have to be honest, that was my second choice, so I can't beat you up for that one. Robert?
Yeah, this is a 2-horse race for me between Zoe Saldana and Felicity Jones. They're both tremendous.
I will say Ariana Grande was great in Wicked. I absolutely loved her performance as Glinda, but the competition is too tough for her. It's like maybe another year.
She's got one of those performances that another year would have probably won. I'm flipping a coin.
Yeah, didn't we talk about that with the left? Oh my God, blanking on the name. The actor from The Leftovers. We talked about how he should have won Best Actor, but he was up against Holdovers. Thank you.
And yes, Paul Giamatti.
Thank you. Oh my God, where did my brain go?
This year he would have won that almost walking away.
Agreed.
But he just had to try and compete with Cillian Murphy's Oppenheimer portrayal, and that just didn't happen.
Best Writing, Original Screenplay, Anora, Sean Baker. The Brutalist, Brady Corbet and Mona Fazvold. A Real Pain, Jesse. Wait, did you do your pick? Sorry. Robert.
Yeah, I flipped a coin between Zoe Saldana and Felicity Jones, and I came up with Felicity Jones.
A Real Pain, Jesse Eisenberg, September 5th. That's the one I still haven't seen yet, and I really wanted to. Maritz Binder and Tim Fellborn, and Alex David. And The Substance by Coralie Fargett. I'm going to go with Anora Sean Baker. Alexis?
I am agreeing Anora. I would like it to be The Substance, but I think Anora's going to win.
Yeah.
If Anora does it, at a bare minimum, if Anora's not winning more than this, it's probably winning this one.
Okay, so another unanimous one?
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Best Writing Adapted Screenplay, A Complete Unknown, James Mangold and Jay Cox, based on the book Dylan Goes Electric by Elijah Wald. Conclave, Peter Stroud, based on the novel by Robert Harris. Emilia Perez, Jacques Audiard in collaboration with Thomas Bittigan. Oh, for fuck's sake, that's a lot of words. Nickel Boys, Sing Sing. I'm going to go.
Hang on, I have to ask.
Yes.
What's Emilia Perez adapted from?
Yeah, actually, you didn't say
Based on the opera libretto Emilia Perez by Jacques Audiard and the novel Écoute by Boris Razon.
Okay. They're desperately trying to find something to give that piece of shit.
Right. Well, I'm going to go with A Complete Unknown.
I'm going with Conclave.
Hang on. I am with Alexis on this one.
All right.
I thought the writing in Conclave was quite strong.
Okay.
Yeah. I really want to see Sing Sing. I've heard nothing but good things about it. And for the record, if any of these nominations, it turns out it's one of the ones that I didn't see, then,
Best animated feature, Flow, Inside Out 2, Memoir of a Snail, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul, and The Wild Robot, and I picked The Wild Robot.
I stand by what I said. As long as Inside Out 2 doesn't win, I'm fine with any of them. But if you put a gun to my head, I would say either The Wild Robot or Flow.
You have to pick one.
I say Flow wins.
Okay, Robert.
Yeah, these are all great. I'll pick a different one just to be different here, and give me that good old dog and man from England. I will go with Wallace and Gromit.
Perfect.
Good boy.
Best international feature film, Emilia Perez, Flow, The Girl with the Needle, I'm Still Here, and The Seed of the Sacred Fig, which the critically acclaimed guys just gushed about The Seed of the Sacred Fig. It's one of the ones I want to see eventually, but I'm going to say, since I'm Still Here, I think has to win something. I'm Still Here.
Haven't seen it yet, but I hope it wins, because the only other one I could see having a chance is sadly Emilia Perez. So I will put my money on I'm Still Here.
Okay, Robert, you want to be the one that goes with Emilia Perez here?
Will you just flip him off already and get it over with?
No, I'm actually gonna go. Hey, you know what? No, that's to you. I'm going with Flow.
Okay, fair enough. Best documentary feature.
How about we skip that?
Yeah, I haven't seen any of these.
Well, for the people listening, it's Black Box, Diaries, No Other Land, Porcelain War, Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat, and Sugarcane. I have no fucking clue.
We're too busy watching crap for you, Mark. We don't have time to watch documentaries.
Yeah, I'm the problem. Best documentary short film is Death by Numbers, I Am Ready, Warden. Oh, that sounds fun. Incident, Instrument of a Beating Heart, and The Only Girl in the Orchestra. I am assuming none of us have seen these.
No.
Moving on.
I haven't even heard of them.
Best live action short film, Aline, Anujwa, I Am Not a Robot, The Last Ranger, and The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent. Anything? No? Good.
No.
Best animated short film, Beautiful Men, In the Shadows of the Cypress, Magic Candles, Wander to Wonder, and Yuck. Anything for anyone?
Yuck.
Okay. Moving on. Best music, original score, The Brutalist, Daniel Blumberg, Conclave, Volker Bartleman, Emilia Perez, Clement Ducol, and Camille, Wicked, John Powell and Stephen Schwartz, and The Wild Robot, Chris Bowers. I'm going to go with the populist choice here because I think they got to throw at something. Wicked.
I honestly don't really have a lot of takeaway from any 5 of those nominations for the score. Music was not something I particularly noticed on any of them.
Really? Brutalist kind of assaulted you with it.
I droned it out because I hated that whole movie. I guess I'll go with The Brutalist for that.
It was one of the things that actually did stand out to me when we reviewed Conclave. I said the score does a lot of heavy lifting here, so I'm actually going to go with Conclave.
Best music, original song, El Mai from Emilia Perez, The Journey from the 6888, Like a Bird from Sing Sing, Mi Camino from Emilia Perez, Never Too Late from Elton John. This is like when I have to take a test and I don't know what the answer is, so I just pick the first one. So El Mal from Emilia Perez.
I haven't seen 3 of those movies, so I have nothing to go on. I did not enjoy the music in Emilia Perez. So
I think there was only one song in Emilia Perez I kind of vibed with. And it's when Zoe Saldana is doing the
table dance.
Yeah.
That's what El Mal is.
Yeah.
That's,
good.
Yeah, that's El Mal.
Woo-hoo! Did I pick the right one?
But you know what? I'm just going to say give it to Elton John.
Okay. Robert?
Boy, do I not care. You know what? Just to be different, Like a Bird.
Great. Best sound, A Complete Unknown, Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez, Wicked, The Wild Robot. The answer is
Hang on half a sec.
Yep.
Is there another sound one, or is it only sound, or is there sound and sound design? Or
hang on, let me scroll back up. Sound, makeup and hairstyling, costume design, cinematography, production design, film editing, and visual effects.
So no.
I have to change one of my columns here to scroll back up just a hair. have visual effects.
Sorry.
Editing,
Nope.
right. Okay. We'll
Yeah.
let it be editing for the moment, and then I will.
So you
do
said that
this.
I'm scrolling on my screen, which isn't being shared. That's the second time I've done that this week.
Okay, so we are at best sound.
All right, best
Which
sound.
is down here.
Best sound is Dune Part 2. Alexis?
I agree. Dune Part 2.
One more tab. If I had a second choice, it would be if I was doing ranked choosing, Wild Robot would be a strong second, but I will agree with Dune.
Okay. Best production design: The Brutalist, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Nosferatu, and Wicked. I am choosing Wicked. Alexis?
I am also choosing Wicked. Talked about the immersive sets and how the director fought for them to actually be built when the studio said they preferred to use green screen, and he said, no, we are building a set. The fact that the Emerald City and the university all look like they are lived in, like they are fully functioning buildings and areas, was really impressive. So I definitely go with Wicked.
Okay, I'm gonna take a stand against Wicked, not because I don't think it deserves to win this. If there's any on this list it does deserve to win, it would be this, but because I'm gonna go Nosferatu.
Yeah, I saw that coming. I'd have bet money on it. Best cinematography: The Brutalist, Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez, Maria, Nosferatu, and the answer is The Brutalist. Alexis?
And I'll go with Nosferatu. Hey, I want Robert Eggers to freaking get some recognition for how his movies look.
It's true. He has a very good cinematographer. I'm actually going to go Dune. I think that thing's cinematography is going to want... No, oh, sorry. Hang on. Not cinematography. I am on the wrong tab. Yeah, I'll bite the bullet and go Brutalist.
Okay.
I will say, if it's not Nosferatu, then yeah, Brutalist. It's my runner-up.
Okay. Best makeup and hairstyling: A Different Man, Emilia Perez, Nosferatu, The Substance, and Wicked. The answer is The Substance.
I would say either The Substance or Wicked.
You have to pick one, you psycho.
Fine. Wicked. I said before, the makeup and hairstyling, and that is amazing.
Substance, and I don't think that's especially close. With due respect for Nosferatu and Wicked, what they did in The Substance with a bunch of that stuff is just...
I'll put Substance as a runner-up.
We did Best Actress, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We unanimously said Demi Moore.
Okay. Yeah, somebody in the comments said that we skipped it. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure we did
it's because you were going off of your list, but on the layout, actress comes before actor, so it looked like we had skipped over it. It's just a layout difference.
Got it. All right. Yeah, I'm on the Wikipedia. All right. Best costume design: A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Gladiator 2, Nosferatu, Wicked. The answer is Wicked.
I would also say Wicked, although I'll give Gladiator 2 a runner-up.
And costuming. So you both said Wicked.
Wicked. Wow. Happy face. No.
I am pretty firmly on the anti-Wicked train here.
You always have been.
And just say Nosferatu and be done with this.
I'm genuinely torn between Nosferatu and Conclave, because Conclave had to accurately recreate all of the Catholic liturgical gear, and that takes some doing. So
good word.
Give a shout out to them. But yeah, dude, I'd give an Oscar to Willem Dafoe's coat in Nosferatu if I could. That thing has personality coming out the ears.
Okay.
You're not wrong.
So what'd you pick?
Yeah, Nosferatu.
Best film editing: Anora, The Brutalist, Conclave, Emilia Perez, Wicked, and the answer is Anora. Sean Baker.
I agree, definitely.
And editing. I do not agree.
Conclave.
I actually think Brutalist.
Okay. And finally, best visual effects: Alien, Romulus, Better Man, Dune Part 2, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and Wicked. And I am Alexis on this one. I am fucking torn.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know you said we got to pick one, but I cannot pick between Dune Part 2 and Wicked. I really can't.
Fine, then I'm going to pick Dune Part 2 and you're going to pick Wicked.
Okay,
Robert?
fine. One of us has to lose.
That's right. And Robert picks Alien Romulus.
The hell I do.
Admittedly, those were, you
I
know what,
picked
credit
Kingdom
to
of the
actually
Planet of the
using,
Apes before I picked Romulus.
credit to Romulus for at least using practical effects from a lot of the aliens and stuff. So,
The temptation to say Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is actually quite high on my end, but I will go with Dune.
All right. And that is our picks. Alexis, you've got an art. If you can stop sharing your screen now.
yes.
Why don't you kind of take over and talk us through Oscar snubs? Though before you say anything, I only have one that comes to mind immediately, and that is The Last Showgirl. The fact that it didn't get nominated for anything. Pam Anderson, I think, should have been nominated for a Best Actress, and I do think The Last Showgirl should have been nominated for Best Original Screenplay. But, such is life.
All right. Yeah, I'm going off of CBSNews.com's list of the Oscar snubs. So I'm just going to go in the order.
Yeah, that's fine.
Here of what they have. Their first up is Best Actress. They talked about Nicole Kidman, her performance in Baby Girl. Angelina Jolie, her role in Maria. Amy Adams in Night Bitch. Kate Winslet in Lee, Swarzy Roman, that is how you pronounce it, right? In The Outrun, Tilda Swinton in The Room Next Door, Marianne Jean-Baptiste in Hard Truths, and Pamela Anderson in The Last Showgirl.
Well, there's everything else I'm kind of 50-50 on, but I'm really upset about the Pam Anderson snub. What do you think?
I think we can all agree we would rather see Pam Anderson nominated than Gascon.
That's fair. That's 100%.
Easily.
Yeah. Any other snubs on that jump out at you, Robert?
No, what they did there basically was take, hey, here's the heavy hitters we expect to get nominated, and they just didn't quite for whatever reason this time around.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, Nicole Kidman in Baby Girl is fine, but it's not like.
But I wouldn't have nominated her. I don't think.
Yeah, but again, here it is in a list of snubs.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm thinking about as a way of framing this discussion. Is there anybody that they're listing as a snub that's better than anyone that was actually nominated? And my vote was Pam Anderson over Carla Gasson.
I mean,
any of them Nicole Kidman.
Any of them over Carla Gasson, first of all.
Okay,
but
sure,
like I said, Carla Gasson was fine in it, but compared to these other actresses, she did not bring anything.
Yeah. All right, next one.
I also tend to prefer to want to keep men out of women's categories, but that's a whole other thing.
We are so not opening up that Pandora's box.
Just go to the next one.
Okay, next one listed as Best Supporting Actress.
Hang on. I get fucking shit all the time for the dumb shit I say, and then if Robert says something like that, we're just like, ugh, asshole.
I am not opening up this podcast to that level.
I just want to call. You're an asshole. Let's move on. Yell at me about my Portuguese statement from 3 hours ago. Go ahead.
I didn't yell at you. That was Robert.
I am talking to Robert.
I said it once after you made the joke 3 times.
In a row. Go
Next listed as Best Supporting Actress. They include Margaret Qualley for The Substance, Elle Fanning for Complete Unknown, Jamie Lee Curtis for The Last Showgirl, and Danielle Deadweiler for The Piano Lesson.
I would take Jamie Lee Curtis for The Last Showgirl. I would take Margaret Qualley over Monica Barbaro for A Complete Unknown.
I could get behind that, yeah.
Okay, next one.
Yeah. Admittedly, just switch out Barbaro with Elle Fanning. I frankly thought Fanning was much... I'm with Robert. It's like I saw that Complete Unknown had a nominee for Best Supporting Actress. I assumed it was Fanning. Let's see here. List of Best Actor. The only snub they're pointing out here is Daniel Craig in Queer.
Not a snub.
Okay.
They also said potential snubs, though we're kind of split on it, is Paul Mescal in Gladiator 2 and Hugh Grant in Heretic.
No. Fuck that. No. Oh
Absolutely not to either of those. Look, Hugh Grant salvaging a very bad script with a decent performance has falsely elevated our perception of what he did in Heretic.
And we did a Damn You Hollywood for Gladiator 2, and Robert and I tore that thing a new asshole, which it deserved.
Which
Speaking
Mark
of which,
violated.
Speaking of Gladiator 2, on the Best Supporting Actor, among the snubs they're saying is Denzel Washington from Gladiator 2.
Yeah, that I would agree with.
Stanley
You
Tucci
could've.
from Conclave, Peter
Mhm.
Skarsgård for September 5th, Jonathan Bailey for Wicked. Point out that he was also nominated for an SAG, and the big one they're pointing out is from Sing Sing, Clarence Macklin.
Yeah.
So
Probably.
although he does share a nomination for Best Original Screenplay for that.
Okay.
So,
Again, if that's the closest thing that amounts to a snub.
all right. So, but I think we can. At least I say it's like fine. Put in Clarence Macklin. Remove Yura Bordasov.
There's one you could maybe cut from that list, but I wouldn't consider that a snub. More like that's just a tough cut.
Okay.
Somebody was going to get left off there.
Best Director, we got John M. Chu for Wicked, Denis Villeneuve for Dune Part 2, Edward Berger for Conclave, and Ridley Scott for Gladiator 2.
Ridley Scott can kiss my ass.
I'm not advocating for it. I agree.
No.
We're not attacking you.
Yeah, that's you are just the messenger. We respect the role of the messenger here. We will not attack you.
These are for you, Ridley Scott.
Yeah. Mister, I don't care what's going on in the background of my shots. We'll fix it in post because I'm
100.
Dude, your longtime cinematographer buried you for how you handled Gladiator 2. That tells you everything.
Yeah, go check out our Damn You Hollywood where we talked about that extensively.
I would gladly say remove Jacques Audiard from Emilia Perez and replace with either Denis Villeneuve, Edward Berger, or maybe John M. Chu. Maybe if I'm feeling great.
No, Chu didn't do a good job directing. If you hang on, if you look at like the direction of Wicked, it's kind of a problem. Villeneuve definitely should be there.
100%.
Okay.
But again, we're waiting on the third one to give him his due.
Okay, below the line, other notable omissions. Dune Part 2 was missing from costume, hair/makeup, and editing. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross's Challenger score, which won the Golden Globe, was not nominated. Missing altogether.
It won the Golden Globe because we worship at the cult of attempting to garner notoriety in Trent Reznor.
Missing altogether, Civil War and Kneecap.
Neither of which is a snub. Neither of them were that good.
I've never even heard of Kneecap. So
moving on.
That's it. That's the article.
Okay. The last bit before we get out of here for the night, there was some controversies regarding Emilia Perez you may have heard about, and some other stuff you wanted to address. Alexis, the floor is yours.
All right. Well, yes, it started with Carla Sofia Gascon, lead nominated for Best Actress in Emilia Perez. She was originally accused of potentially breaking Oscar rules. Apparently, she accused social media teams of working with fellow nominee Fernanda Torres of I'm Still Here for trying to diminish her work and that of the Emilia Perez crew. A lot of people pointed out that's violating Academy rules, which prevent nominees from sharing, quote, misleading or false information about a motion picture performance or achievement, and state that one cannot discourage members to vote for any motion picture performance or achievement. In a statement with Variety, Carla claimed that she was not speaking about anyone directly associated with Torres or a film, adding, quote, I was referencing the toxicity and the violent hate speech on social media that I sadly continue to experience. Essentially, the Academy said, okay, we're not going to consider that a violation. You haven't broken any rules. But the upset fans started digging through her Twitter account, which is always going to lead to someone's downfall, unfortunately. Finding, as first resurfaced by journalist Sarah Haji, I don't know. Carla's account was reportedly full of offensive, racist, and Islamophobic tweets. Among her reported statements, which were translated from Spanish, one called George Floyd a drug addict swindler. Another commented on the 2020. Sorry, what?
Swindler?
Swindler. That's the word.
Okay, that that's just painfully inaccurate. You want to call him drug addicted? Okay, he was. And if you want to talk about how much fentanyl played a role in his death, at this point, that's a matter of medical record. But swindler?
Okay, another tweet commenting on the 2021 Oscars ceremony when winners included No Man Land, Minari, and Judas and the Black Messiah, saying that watching these films be awarded felt like, quote, watching an Afro-Korean festival or a Black Lives Matter demonstration. She has also repeatedly tweeted frequently about Islam, calling it a, quote, hotbed of infection, among other things. After an evening of
in some respects, I know a lot of very good Muslim people. For the record, I'm not doing the. I'm just saying, you need to have a good hard look in the mirror at some of this stuff, and this goes for every religion. Like, because every religion is prone to breeding extremism if you're not really careful. I come from a religious group that has fundamentalists out there right now that are like, yay, polygamy still. And we're not associated with you. Please stop sullying our name. We worked hard to get away from this.
After an evening of her tweets going viral, Carla deleted her account and issued a non-apology statement to The Hollywood Reporter, saying, I'm sorry, but I can no longer allow this campaign of hate and misinformation to affect neither my family nor me anymore. So at their request, I am closing my account on X. I have been threatened with death, insulted, abused, and harassed to the point of exhaustion. In the statement, Carla seemed to imply that her past tweets do not reflect her current beliefs, noting that she, quote, used social media as a diary, reflections, or notes to later create stories or characters.
For the record, every tweet referenced is from 2021 to 2023.
I could actually I have the tweets here saved, but I'm not going to pull up each individual one.
The point being, the way that the statement was given is it was 10 years ago. People, I'm not that same person anymore. Then you look at the timestamp on what was said. You mean yesterday?
Carla then suggested this was part of an orchestrated campaign against her, saying there was, quote, something very dark behind it, and claiming that critics were taking my words out of context or manipulating them to hurt me. And while she apologized, quote, if I have ever offended anyone, she maintained that she was not responsible for what others say I say or what others interpret from what I say. On February 3rd, Carla was interviewed on CNN, and they asked her point blank if she planned on stepping down from her Oscar nomination because of this controversy. She said, hell no.
In fairness, why? That's a stupid question to ask someone like that.
Also expressed her frustration of what she views as a lack of opportunity to defend herself, saying, I have been judged, condemned, sacrificed, crucified, and stoned without a trial and without the option to defend myself.
I'm only getting the opportunity to air these grievances on CNN. I mean, I know it has an audience smaller than ours these days, but that's still one of the major news networks. Where's my trial? You're on CNN, buddy. Let's not complicate this.
So Zoe Saldana began separating her Oscar campaign from Carla early on in the controversy, saying,
very
quote,
quickly,
it makes me really sad because I don't support it and I don't have any tolerance for any negative rhetoric towards people of any group. So there's that. Where's the... Following the CNN interview, but prior to announcing that she would cease commenting on the matter publicly, the director, Jacques Audiard, told Deadline that what Carla had written was inexcusable, saying, quote, I haven't spoken to her and I don't want to. She is in a self-destructive approach that I can't interfere in, and I really don't understand why she's continuing.
All right, so let me ask you a question here, just to kind of close this out. Do you think they repeat the Emilia Perez mistake in the forthcoming years? Because this was clearly,
of course,
an inflated
they don't
movie.
Learn.
Well, that's the thing. It's like this got negative attention from the online, community. This has got negative attention from the communities they sought to court. And then champion. And then it's like literally everywhere they turned, no allies. And all of this just to promote an agenda. Do you think next year they play it way safe? And you say they don't learn, but they have learned. And they have made mistakes in the past, and immediately the following year were gun shy about it. So I want to throw it to you first, Alexis, for kind of a 10-word or less answer. Do you think there's anything like this again next year?
Well, I will say that I mentioned before that Anora and the Brutalist were the big front runners for Best Picture. Emilia Perez was considered a big front runner after taking home the Golden Globe for Best Musical over Wicked, which a lot of people are like, I'm sorry, what, WTF? That campaign has really retracted now thanks to Carla's commentary. A lot of people feel that the Academy is not going to vote for a lot of the awards for Emilia Perez because of this, because they are afraid of being seen as complicit in this kind of, to quote the director, self-destructive behavior. I will say,
play stupid games.
I
win
think
stupid
a
prizes.
lot of it is going to come down to how many awards Emilia Perez does walk away with. Essentially, if it doesn't walk away with anything, I think that, yeah, this is going to really send the lesson about this, and we will see changes. If they get a couple of awards, even just like for Zoe Saldana, and that's it, I think they're not going to learn their lesson. So I say it comes down to the Oscars. I'm
going to give the last word here to Cinechow. And we had Selena Gomez crying on her Instagram story for The Immigrants, and everyone noticed she was trying to take the spotlight for the film. There you go. Well, folks,
it's a little bit cynical, but probably not wrong.
That is our Oscar 2024-2025 survey. The nominations for the Best Picture. This was a little longer than I had intended, but still a smooth show. I don't feel like there was a lot of wasted motion here, and we didn't have an elongated discussion about the nature of friendship. That was 2 years ago.
Look, man, you said watch the Banshees of Inisherin. It won't give you an existential crisis about your relationships to your fellow man.
It was a lesson about watching these before this show.
I still remember that. I was just like, God, why did we do a separate show on the Banshees of Inisherin?
So if you were like this, why didn't they talk more about these movies? Because, like I said, I've been trying to do more reviews for these well ahead of this so that we don't spend 12 hours on this show. So going back, if you would like to hear longer discussions of the films mentioned, with the exception of Nickel Boys and I'm Still Here, we did Damn You Hollywood gave Wicked and Dune Part 2 the full Damn You Hollywood treatment. I think 2 hours apiece on both shows. The Substance is part of a triple feature with Cuckoo and Strange Darling. Great show. Love doing that with Robert. Definitely worth a listen. We did another triple feature with The Last Showgirl, Anora, and Emilia Perez, where you can hear more of Robert's enraged thoughts about that movie. And then finally, we did one for once they announced what the nominees were, we did one for Conclave, The Brutalist, and A Complete Unknown. So those are all in our archives under either Damn You Hollywood or Triple Feature. I want to thank everyone who tuned. We had a lot of people watch tonight. At some point, we had a really high number, highest than we've had in a while. So if you're new and this was your first show, what a weird one to start with. But thank you for checking us out. We hope we didn't run you off. So with that said, for the plugs that pay her, Alexis, go quickly.
Well, for the plugs that don't pay me, I will be back on Wednesday to discuss Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man along with Shay Tate and potentially Dorian Price. I need to track that man down. And I'll be back next week to host a Damn You Hollywood, as we're going to be talking about The Monkey. Looking forward to that. And then I'll be back 2 days after that to talk about The Bear Season 2 with you, Mark.
That's right. Love season. Boy, if you like Jamie Lee Curtis in The Last Showgirl, you should see her in The Bear Season 2. Fucking phenomenal.
Is quite good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
The Bear's good, man. It's really good television.
I just telling Alexis, I just finished season 2 last night, and like I had to stop myself from going into season 3. Like, I love this show. I enjoyed the first season, loved the second season, got really excited for the third.
I actually need to finish Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man before I get into The Bear, because if I try to binge watch both, I'm going to suddenly start wondering why Peter Parker is trying to, cook spare ribs.
All right, real quick.
But only 6 frames a second, too.
This Thursday is the last of our Black History Month shows. For those that don't know this, every year Jason Teasley and I get in touch with our inner black man, and we celebrate Black cinema. We started off this year with The Wiz, Dreamgirls, and Purple Rain. We took a break to look at some football movies for the Super Bowl, which was Wildcats starring Goldie Hawn, Draft Day starring Al Pacino, and Draft Day starring Kevin Costner, and Any Given Sunday starring Al Pacino. We jumped back in the saddle with some black basketball movies. Above the Rim, Coach Carter and He Got Game. This past week, we took a closer look at John Singleton movies, specifically Poetic Justice, Higher Learning, and Baby Boy. And if you're like, what the fuck, Boys in the Hood? Yeah, we did that one like 2 years ago. So we wanted to do the non-Boys in the Hood John Singleton movies, or Shaft for that matter, which we also did a few years ago.
Which is still probably your favorite John Singleton movie.
Probably. This Thursday, we are concluding Black History Month with a actor focus on Samuel Jackson, and of the 7 billion movies he's done, we chose Snakes on a Plane, The Great White Hype, and Soul Men, starring the late, great Bernie Mac.
Well, 2 of those are good choices.
Mark texted me, said he was showing Snakes on a Plane to his children. I said, oh, I wish I was a fly on the wall.
Yeah, Jonas, as I said, Jonas didn't love it because he was like, I don't need to see 90 minutes of guys getting bit in the dick by snakes. I'm like, fair.
Counterpoint. Look, man, if he were 13, he'd be more all over that movie. I almost guarantee it.
So last night was our sessions. That was myself and Jesse Starcher, where we took the essence of a watch through that we did a few years ago. It was the third of 3 podcasts we did in a single night, and by the end of it, we were very salty, very punchy, and just taking turns throwing each other under the bus. And we wouldn't despite all that, we wouldn't let Jesse end the fucking podcast, at which point he said, I about shoved a pencil in my eye, to which I was inspired. So last night's sessions.
You were inspired to use an AI, but, you know.
Yes. So we took the essence of that podcast, turned it into song lyrics, based it off a NoFX song. And so right now on our feed and on my TikTok is Pencil in My Eye, inspired by Stick It in My Eye by NoFX, based on our watching a playthrough of the X-Men arcade game. A fun time was had by all, especially Jesse, who wanted to self-harm by the end of that show. All right, that's all for me. Thanks. I'm driving. Robert, take me home, baby doll. Well said.
Sorry. All right. I cover mixed martial arts and professional wrestling over at 411mania.com, WWE SmackDown on Fridays, UFC events on Saturdays, and intermittently I get called on to pinch hit for other things. Not in a while, but on occasion you'll see me doing other stuff over there. So this last week was an episode of SmackDown that, oh boy, and a UFC event that had some really good moments. And then unfortunate ending to the main event, and the UFC deciding to give Fight of the Night to the worst fight of the night. And we all kind of went, what the
Okay.
If you want a full review of that, again, you can find my written recap. You can also listen to the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast. This week, I reviewed the UFC Seattle card, previewed the upcoming card from the UFC Warehouse, and had a lot of news to talk about. Ilia Topuria vacates the 145-pound title to move up to lightweight, so we have a new vacant title fight for that. The UFC 314, actually, it's at UFC 314. We also got the some of the main card revealed for UFC 315. That includes moving one half of the main event from the UFC London card up to now fight Bilal Muhammad for the title. And Leon Edwards is not the guy they moved up. Now Leon Edwards will fight Sean Brady in London, who was doing something else and then got shuffled around because this is how we do things. So I talk about, again, a lot of the news over there, so go tune in for that if you're so inclined. Again, next week we'll be talking about The Monkey because Osgood Perkins makes interesting horror movies.
Yeah, I will not be there. I will be picking up my daughter from the airport, so we will discuss the Oscars in 2 weeks. March 10th when we do Damn You Hollywood for Mickey 17. However, next week they're doing The Monkey. We're doing The Bear, and on Thursday, allegedly, we're threatening to review the final season of Cobra Kai. We'll see what happens. All right, for Alexis Hejna, for Robert Winfree, I'm going to bed. Be well, be safe, and behave.